Weather next. KSL News Time, 9:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Let's go! You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at Vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
If you're getting new gutters, make absolutely sure that you don't get screwed. I mean literally, don't get screwed. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And every single gutter company out there uses screws to hold their gutters together at the corners and downspouts. They use screws because they're fast and cheap and easy. But man, they're terrible for your gutters, aside from possibly cutting your hand. They also loosen and corrode over time because they're not made from the same metal as the gutters. At RGS Exteriors, we've been installing gutters for 70 years now, and we don't use screws. We only use permanent, strong, and unobtrusive rivets. They're made from the same material as the gutters, so they won't oxidize, and they won't corrode. They'll also never loosen. Your hand is safe too. Did I mention they look amazing? So don't get screwed. Call RGS and get riveted gutters. Our number is 801-280-3110, or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110, or rgsutah.com.
We have emergency traffic this morning. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. And back to you, Jason.
And Amanda, I wish I could have a pleasant update for you, but I really just don't. Southbound I-15 just remains really, really heavy, slow, all the way from 114 south down to the accident at 156 south at the point of the mountain. Those right lanes remain closed there. Left lanes are open, but it's just going to take a long time to get into Utah County at this point. Again, you want to find an alternate if you can on Frontage Road or Redwood if that's the case. Northbound I-15 still the same story as well. Slowdowns from 123rd all the way up to the accident at the South Interchange, blocking the HOV lane there, and it's just really not going to be too pretty on I-15 at this point in time. 2100 North in Lehigh and Pioneer Crossing also still remain very heavy. Southbound I-15 coming out of Weber and Davis, it's also, we're seeing pockets of slowing as you head to downtown Salt Lake City. That's because it's very foggy and the visibility has been limited up there. Also, we're seeing some slick road conditions in places as well. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations. Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
If you're still in the fog, it should move out by this afternoon. A high today of 42 degrees. We're up to the 50s by the weekend. Right now, though, it's 25 degrees downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
As we begin Inside Sources today, I wanted to talk just a little bit about what it was like when I was having my kids biologically and also by adoption. My first child was born a really long time ago, almost 39 years ago. And I was working as a nurse in a hospital in Utah, and I had absolutely zero maternity leave at all, nothing. I could use sick leave from a healthcare organization. I was actually working in labor and delivery in the newborn nursery, and I had no maternity leave. I piled everything I had with sick leave and vacation. It still didn't give me very much coverage, and then we tried to figure out how much we could go without me working. I took off a total of 5 weeks.
If you look at what's happening worldwide, there are a lot of countries that give significant maternity leave for mom and dad.
There are companies within the United States that do that. Right. But overall, I think it's an area that really does impact childbearing decisions. And my own kids they're getting married later, they're having kids later, and they don't want as many. And a lot of it, almost all of it really is affordability. Right. It's just a huge issue. So one of the issues, of course, that legislators are working on the Hill is encouraging families and family-friendly bills. And one of those is a bill that we're going to talk about right now, and that is a bill that would expand maternity leave for state employees. And we have on the line with us Representative Ariel DeFay, the bill sponsor. Thanks for joining us, Representative.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about this bill? I've been reading it over. It involves state employees, but tell our listeners what it does with respect to current law.
Yes, I am thrilled about this bill. So currently, state employees receive 6 weeks of maternity leave. What this would do is extend that to 12 weeks of maternity leave for mothers. We also are adding in leave for adoptive parents and for foster parents. And we really want to encourage Utah families to have a healthy and happy start at the beginning of each child's life. And this goal is to really help encourage strong families.
And you talk about state employees. Does that include educators, school employees?
So when you talk about public employees, it does not. Right now, educators also receive 6 weeks of maternity leave. What this bill would do is create a fund so that local districts and charter schools can get a reimbursement for extending that maternity leave to teachers because they do fall outside. They're in a separate category than public employees, but we wanted to create an option for them as well.
So, Representative DeFay, I am an adoptive mom. I think you know that. And one of the things that people said to me when I was adopting is, oh, you did it the easy way. There's no easy way.
Right.
And having, like, I stayed home with my kids, but I am telling you that the adjustment period after you bring home a new child, whether that's by birth or by adoption, there's still a good chunk of time. And so I was really, really thrilled to see adoptive leave included in this bill.
Yes, I'm so happy that resonated with you. That was one of the things when we started having this discussion, that adoptive parents, like you said, they have just as difficult time transitioning, fostering that child, and improving their lives and their relationships with them. So that time is critical just as much for adoptive parents.
Do we know, Representative DeFay, where this puts Utah with respect to other states? Are other states doing the same thing or similar things, or are we sort of behind the eight ball?
I think we're about in the middle. Some states are ahead of us as far as maternity leave, and some are about on par. I would say that we are behind the eight ball with 6 weeks of maternity leave, but 12 weeks is on par with many states, and I think that is where the trend is going. And really the goal is, as a state, we can lead and show industry how important it is that we are supporting strong families, we're supporting mothers, and we're supporting the workforce. And hopefully they can follow suit if they are able to do so.
Representative DeFay, we're talking about your bill on state employee maternity leave. It's not yet been assigned to committee. Is that correct?
That's right.
But today you are going to be with a group of people talking about some pro-family bills. What time is that happening?
That is happening at 12:30 today. We are having a press conference. So yes, I over the interim, there was a group of the majority House members who got together and said, we're going to start a strong family working group because the fertility rates in Utah are dropping so dramatically on trend with the rest of the nation. And we wanted to see what kind of policies we could come up with from the state side to help support strong families. This was in the discussion. At the same time, the Policy Project, a nonprofit group, came to me and said, we want to extend maternity leave. And it was just a perfect alignment of policy goals. And so we are working in conjunction with Policy Project to really push this maternity leave. And it's getting great traction. And I'm very hopeful for the future of this bill.
Can I ask you a question about parental leave? So is this bill really only for moms, or are there aspects where this can apply to either parent?
Yes. So right now, parental leave is in the law is 3 weeks. So either parent, regardless, gets 3 weeks of parental leave. So it doesn't change that at all. However, the extension just is for mothers, or if you're an adoptive parent, it's for one of the parents in an adoptive parent home. So that doesn't necessarily have to be a mother, but it really is a maternity leave extension.
This has got to be really good news for a lot of people. Are you getting much pushback from this? Because and again, my kids are born, they're raised. It doesn't help me at all, but just looking at my children and their reluctance to have children of their own because of things like this, it's got to be pretty good news for a lot of people.
Yeah. People are very enthusiastic and positive about really all aspects of the bill. Not a lot of pushback. I know that it'll be difficult for agencies to have to float, throughout 12 weeks while they lose an employee. But they have been very supportive and willing to get on board because they see that it is so important for the health of the mother, for the development of the child, and it also has really good results as far as reducing turnovers. It reduces turnover and retention by 70%. So this is really overall good for the workforce.
So, Representative, we have a texter who is asking about funding this bill, and is it taking money from the PTO fund for state employees?
So no. So actually, the great thing is there is a zero fiscal note on the public employees side of this bill because agencies are able to absorb the cost. So it's not going to cost anything. There is a fund for the teacher and public school employee portion. So that is $3 million from our public stabilization fund.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. I look forward to following this bill as it goes through. And I'll just put a little plug in of my own. No lobbying on the air, but parental leave, it's important for dads too. I'll just say that.
Absolutely is. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for joining us again. So when we come back, I want to hear from our listeners and what support do you need to encourage you to start a family? And do you think expanded maternity leave is a good start? You can text us at 57500 or feel free to call us and we'll take your call on air. It's 801-575-TALK, and we'll be back after this break.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet Arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country, And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? Rope it up. Cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
And this week, Eye on the Hill includes Eye on the Family. And as birth rates continue to decrease both in Utah and nationally, a lot of our legislators are wondering what can be done about that. And I think one of the overriding concerns about that has to be affordability. We've spoken in the past about housing costs getting to the point where a lot of young people can't afford a home. Daycare expenses have gotten to the point where some people can't afford to take off work because daycare cost more. You spoke a minute ago while we were talking during the break about giving employees the possibility to work from home, remote work, and we just spoke with Representative Ariel DeFay about a bill that she's got that would increase the ability for parents to take time off and get maternity leave from
state employees.
Right,
yeah,
state employees. But it's a huge step. I think it's a big step.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about the overall conversation is there are a lot of pieces, right? And we are interested in hearing from our listeners. You can call us if you want to. That's what is it? 575-TALK.
Yes.
Yeah, TALK. So 801-575-TALK, or text us 57500. But But one of the things that I'm seeing from my own children, and I mentioned this in the last segment, is they're getting married later. They're getting married in their late 20s-ish and having babies after that. And they don't want a lot of babies because they're really worried about affordability. There's other issues as well, a little bit worried about the state of the world, to be honest. But some of my kids have really, really great benefits with the companies that they work for. And that seems to be an individual decision. So I'm thinking particularly of a couple of mine. They work for companies that are national, even they're actually international companies. And so their benefits are parental benefits, both for mom and dad. And my daughter she had a baby in April, the beginning of April. She didn't have to go back to work until right before Thanksgiving. That was awesome.
Right. And my 3 children and their spouses have had very good luck in terms of their employers being able to give them some significant time off, both as a mom and dad, to get their family started. And it's such a tough thing. And I remember myself when we had to both go back to work. And our child was so young, you feel like, oh, can I put this kid in daycare? There's really something I want to do when a kid's 4, 5, 6 weeks old.
Oh, they're so tiny.
I know. And you're thinking, I can't leave the child. But I think that giving that a significant time, 12 weeks, is a big difference.
Yeah, it really is. And we've had, again, several people saying, does this impact dads? This particular bill does not. Although Representative DeFay did say if it was a single parent who was a dad adopting or fostering, then that would still apply. But largely, this is meant for maternity leave. And I think it's great. I think it's really a great move. I hope to see discussions about including dads in these conversations because it's so important, right? When I was working as a midwife, I would tell people you need a period of time where it's like a baby moon, like a honeymoon. And I see some people take them before they have their babies. But really what I meant by it was you are becoming a new family unit. Even if this is not your first child, this is a new configuration of the family. We know there's a lack of sleep. We know that there's different things that come together, come in play, especially if you've got like a toddler and a newborn, right? It's not fair to tell dad, by the way, you do all the work now and go back to work.
Right.
That part's rough, right? So I'm hoping that we see also policies that support dads in these families.
Well, let's hear from Sue from Orem, mother of 6, all for maternity leave, but concerned about taxpayers paying for it. Sue, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Yes, my children are all grown, and I'm actually not only the mother of 6, but I'm the grandmother of 17. But my issue, I am all for the creation of strong, beautiful families. But my issue is this is a wonderful bill for the state employees. But isn't it the regular constituents, us, who are paying for this opportunity for them to have this ideal situation? But what about the rest of us? It just seems a little unbalanced to me. And so that is my comment, plain and simple.
Thank you, Sue, and congrats on your 17 grandkids. Yeah. That's awesome.
She's ahead of me.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a concern, and Representative DeFay did tell us that it does not increase any tax burden or anything on the public because these organizations, the state organizations, will just absorb that additional cost. But there is a fund that will be created for our teachers, right? So people, and it's not just teachers, but anybody who works for the school system, that they have an opportunity to expand their maternity leave and then ask for reimbursement for the state.
It is a statement, argument that we hear often, and I think it's very fair, what she just talked about. And I recall when President Biden was excusing all the student loan, a lot of people were saying, well, what about me? I paid mine, and it's not fair to just sort of bring this about. So I think Sue makes a good point. She raised 6 children and didn't have the benefit of this law. But prospectively, I think it's something that has to happen so that, especially if we want to deal with the fall in birth rates.
Well, and again, we've talked about this coming from a variety of angles, right? So there's tax credits, and that's federal and local, and there's maternity leave is one thing. Businesses do different things. Daycare is definitely part of the consideration, and we have, I think, I think a growing awareness that it is in the business's best interest, even if that's the business of the state, right, to be able to support families and not replace people, quote unquote, just because they had a baby, right? We know that there's a cost to advertising and training, et cetera.
It is hard for small businesses, which I have run for years, and tried to give maternity leave. But when you have a small office, like for example mine, just where we have 3 or 4 attorneys, you lose one.
Sure.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, sure.
We try to support that and granted fairly what I thought was liberal maternity leave, but I understand that it's on a business by business basis. What we're talking about here, Representative DeFay's bill, is limited to state employees.
And I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit because I see this trend happening is that instead of having human babies, young adults are saying that they're expanding their families with fur babies.
Pets.
And by pets. Yeah, they're by pets. And, it's a little funny to me and it's a little sad because there's nothing like a human baby that becomes a teenager. That's awesome. Right. But there's a growing, I think, awareness that people are opting out of having kids. Sorry, excuse me.
But they still want to have some sort of parenthood relationship.
And what's funny? So I'm on Instagram and I scroll Instagram and I can see people that say, they'll even do like an ultrasound picture, but it's actually a dog and not a human baby. And Hallmark now sells cards that are like to the dog mom, Happy Mother's Day to the dog mom. I mean, those kinds of things. But there's an article in NBC that is really talking about fur babies in China, why young people in China are choosing pets over parenthood. Officials
and treating them like children.
They are, right? They go everywhere. People wear them. So, in fact, I've seen this. So, I used to carry my babies in either a sling, some kind of a baby carrier, so I could carry them close to me. People are doing that with their pets. They're like strapping them on in baby carriers and wearing them. So this story from NBC, of course, we know in China, they had the one-child policy for a long time. And then we're starting to see a decline in our population, and maybe it's going to go too fast. And so they've been trying to reverse it. People in China, not interested.
Yep.
Not interested.
Instead. My youngest and her husband did something I thought was really interesting. They had a couple of dogs for a couple of years to kind of see how they co-parented. You know what I mean? I know it's different, but
it's cute.
You sort of watch how they're doing things, and then they had their 2 babies, and they had figured out how to share responsibilities and whatnot.
Oh, that's so cute. I kind of like that. That's sweet.
Well, this is also something I think is very good. The legal mind in me is interested in a proposal in Utah that would bring legal consequences for young adults that they should learn before they reach adulthood. And I've always thought about this before. We need to get into our K-12 and talk civics so that when kids graduate and they're ready to start college, they understand at least the basics of the law.
What does it mean to be an adult?
That's right. We'll talk about that after this.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, Utah lawmakers are one step closer to lowering the state's income tax rate for the 6th year in a row. State Senator Dan McKay is sponsoring the effort to lower Utah's income tax rate from 4.5 to 4.45%.
The nice thing about reducing income tax and keeping us competitive with the states around us is it does tend to attract economic development and economic growth.
The bill passed through a Senate committee, but not unanimously. Several public commenters voiced concern given the bill is expected to cost Utah more than $200 million in revenue over the next 2 fiscal years, while the cut is expected to save the typical Utah family about $45 a year. The bill has a few more hurdles to clear to become law. Our top national story this hour, border czar Tom Homan was speaking this morning in Minneapolis with reporters about how he plans to reduce tensions between immigration forces and the state of Minnesota. Homan says the Department of Homeland Security will be working closely with local agencies.
In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Frey, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership with Minnesota.
Holman has stepped in to direct the operations as tensions flare over the death of ICU nurse Alex Preddy at the hands of federal agents. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 175 now. That's 0.25%. We're at 48,882. Coming up, it's going to feel like a Groundhog Day with spring this week. KSL Weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
If you're tired of hot, uncomfortable dress shirts that just don't hold up, sweat stains, stuffy collars, short tails, sound familiar? Meet your new favorite dress shirts from Serve Clothing. The game-changing design features a mesh collar shield that stops sweat stains from ruining your look. Plus, built-in vents keep you comfortable under suits and jackets, no matter the season. You'll love the extra length that stays tucked in and the antimicrobial odor-fighting fabric that keeps you fresh all day. Forget about replacing your dress shirts every 6 months. With Serve Clothing's unbeatable 2-year guarantee, you know your shirt is built to last through the toughest work days in any climate. And giving back is a priority. Last year, Serve Clothing helped to outfit more than 750 missionaries and others in need using a portion of your orders. Don't wait. Serve shirts sold out 4 times last year. Visit ServeClothing.com right now to get yours before they're gone. Serve Clothing. Dress shirts that actually serve you. ServeClothing.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
You know, it's frustrating. It really is. You work your tail off for 40-plus years. The government takes 30 or 40% in taxes. Then they turn around and they waste your money. Americans are getting fed up, rightfully so. And that's why they're taking advantage of tax planning. Tax planning could significantly reduce your taxes, not just for 1 year, but for the rest of your life. Learn how much you could save in taxes when you retire with a free retirement tax savings analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Don't pay the government one more dime than you need to. Call today, 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
For informational purposes only, actual results may vary. No statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice.
We still have emergency traffic. It's brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at UCCU.com. Jason?
Amanda, it's still the same trouble southbound I-15 with the accident at the point of the mountain at 156 South. Those right lanes remain closed. You're going to stick over to the left, but you're not going to get there for a while if you're traveling southbound I-15 because the heavy delays start at 114th South and last all the way down to where that crash is. Now, we have some good news for those of you who are on the northbound side of I-15. That accident at the South Interchange has been cleared, and the delays are starting to clear out there as well. Traffic is moving much better, although you're still going to be less than 70 miles an hour between about 106 South and 90th South. But once you get past there, you're going to be mostly good the rest of the way into downtown Salt Lake City. Up in the Weber and Davis counties, most of the delays we had on I-15 have cleared out. However, visibility is still limited. There's plenty of fog around, so use caution as you're traveling out there. Don't cause a bad situation that you don't really want to be in. Whipple Service Champions is Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have clouds really through the weekend into Monday. It should clear out Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. It's going to get warm. Today's high only 42, but 54 on Sunday. Right now, it's 25 degrees downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Well, we've continued to get a little bit of comment on our last segment, which dealt with parental leave. Holly, what struck you?
Before we talk about what teenagers need to know when they can become adults, I did just want to say that we did have a texter remind us that public employees are people too, and that they choose to work in the public sector. It almost always pays less than the private sector. And that they are real people who deserve to have a decent wage and benefits. And I agree with that.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think about that with the legal profession, people that are willing to go work for a county attorney's office or be a judge when they take a huge cut in pay to do that, and should be able to get something on the other end from that. But here's something I was really interested in. Mandatory legal education for 10th graders. I mean, sign me up. Sign me up for that. That is.
You make it sound like how am I going to be an attorney? It's not that.
Right. No. Exactly right. And it's not. It's not like you have to memorize the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution by the time you graduate from high school. But having some foundational law training for our young kids before they get out of high school makes a tremendous amount of sense. Because if you think about it, when you graduated from high school, did you understand contract law?
No.
If you wanted to enter into an agreement to rent your first apartment, what do you need to know?
And I think that's a really good point. I remember buying my first car and feeling like such a grown-up, right? I had a grown-up job, and I went to buy my first car. I did not know anything about contracts, and I also didn't know anything about negotiation. I ended up paying something like 18% interest on my first car because I was just like, oh, I get to sign my own contract, right? It was dumb.
Right.
And I didn't know any better, and I didn't know anything about fine print. So,
and a lot of people learn a lot about as is. Then they buy a used car, and then they call and say, "Hey, what's up with this?"
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, you should have read the fine print because it said you're buying a car as is."
Well, there is a bill on Capitol Hill that would instruct basically every school to instruct their 10th graders. So that's about 16 years old. On what their legal obligations are as they become an adult once they turn 18. Because there's a special line. When you're under 18, some stuff can happen. And when you're over 18, some different stuff can happen.
You're an adult, and you're held to an adult standard. And I think 10th grade is the perfect age to start this because 12th graders, we didn't attend much school when I was in 12th grade. And if you're younger, you don't understand things. So 10th grade, get some basic understanding of the law, not necessarily like you said, to be a lawyer, but understanding things like contracting, like if you're in trouble, under what circumstances you would qualify for an attorney, when you're making decisions about medical issues, things like that. There's so much that people don't understand, and they get to adulthood, and there's so many adults that don't understand it either. But having that basic education as a 10th grader makes a tremendous amount of sense. And I'm going to contact the sponsor of this bill, Senator Reby, and say, how can I participate in that?
We did speak to Senator Reby when we were on the Hill last week on opening day, specifically about this legislation and why she wanted to put this legislation forward.
When you think about our students that are 16 and 18, their lives change dramatically. They are involved in very, very adult conversations, adult decisions. They're involved in contracts. So when we look at what's happening in our 16 to 18 lives, we really should tell our students, like, if you sign a contract, you're going to be held responsible. You have to sign up for the draft. You're going to get, yes. If you're going to get a license, you have these requirements, and you can be held accountable for them in law. Also entering into physical relationships with other people, this would be outlined as well. So just really trying to make students aware of their legal responsibilities as they become emerging and flourishing adults and citizens in our community.
Just in terms of the criminal justice system, that age 18, that break, puts you from the juvenile system to the adult system, and they are quite a bit different. I mean, the rights and responsibilities for a juvenile and an adult are significantly different. If you're in an accident with your car and you're 16 years old, you have problems, you have issues. But if you're 18, they're greater, and your responsibility is as an adult. You're held to the same standard when you're 18 as when you're 68 in terms of adult understanding and responsibility and legal culpability.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. And you and I have talked on this show several times about how juvenile court is different, how the goals are different, the outcomes are different. I think that's really great. We do have we do have a texter that says, look, you got to do personal finance. That's also true. And there is a financial literacy requirement for kids to graduate. But look, even in Senator Reeby's bill, one of the things that she says is that she wants these kids to know is she wants them to know about taxes.
Right.
And I think one of the best ways to teach kids about taxes is let them get their first job and they get their first paycheck and they're like, what the heck is this?
Right. And with respect to personal finances, understanding credit, understanding your obligations when you get your first credit card, when you open your first checking account. What does that mean? And what happens if you overuse your credit card or write a bad check or something like that?
So my kids, as they were getting close to their 18th birthday, they started getting a flood of credit card offers in the mail, right? I mean, they're on some list somewhere, right? I don't know how, but they would get these credit card offers in the mail. And of course, we'd talk to them about that, and it would be a small amount of credit with a high interest rate, but they would open it, and it's so tempting to say, I have this card in my hand. I can go shopping.
There's a beautiful pair of shoes right there. I can't
That's
afford them,
right.
but I put it on credit. I can pay it off later. Yeah, and the credit card companies know that there's a break between a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old in terms of responsibility and culpability.
Yeah.
If you don't pay your bill, you can do something with an 18-year-old that you may not be able to do legally against a 16, 17-year-old.
That's right. I think there's even jury duty, right? Obligations. There's, of course, voting rights and obligations/requirements. There, for young men, at least, there's the draft, right? Selective service. I guess it's signing up for the voluntary. I don't know. Is it voluntary? Anyway, you have to sign up for the draft.
Even employment law, even understanding your rights as an employee when you get out to work. I mean, we could work when we're 16 or even younger.
But even what hours?
Right. But what hours and what are your responsibilities and under what circumstances can you be terminated? And do you have any rights if you're terminated? And what about getting financial compensation in terms of unemployment, that type of thing?
Yeah. And, look, one of the things that's interesting about this particular bill is it would allow flexibility for these the school districts or schools, charter schools, whatever it is, right, that is deciding this policy. They can decide how they're going to present this. It could be a video presented in class, right? There's some gun education that is happening that is presented on video in class, and you can opt out, I guess. You could do it as a class. You could do it as a webinar. But it's interesting also, the conversation is, are they actually mature enough for it to sink in?
Right.
And I don't know.
Well, and we have to draw these almost arbitrary boundaries in terms of age. I mean, if you to drink alcohol, 21. Most of the time, under Utah and national law, the age of adulthood is 18. For the purposes of contracting, for the purposes of being charged criminally. I mean, I talk to young people all the time about, hey, you might think that if you shoplift now, it's no big deal. And it is a big deal even as a juvenile, but it's a significantly bigger deal when you're an adult.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I would say with relationships, and that was one of the things we heard from Senator Reeby, right? Entering into relationships and consensual versus not consensual, and how old is the age of your partner? I mean, there's a lot of conversation. So, we already have texters who are texting in to weigh in on this issue, and we'll read some of those when we come back. But I want to hear from more of you. Are 10th graders mature enough to understand some of these legal issues and consequences when you turn 18? You can call us, 801-575-TALK, or text us, 57500. Let us know what you think.
If you buy your own health insurance for yourself or your business, you know it can be confusing even in normal times. This year is even tougher. You need to speak with an expert. At My Policy Quote, that's what you'll get. Would you get a surgery without a surgeon? I'm Mike at My Policy Quote. I've been in insurance for 12 years. Most people think when you sign up for an ACA government plan on the marketplace, you're stuck with it for the entire year. Not true. You can stop and enroll with me anytime, all year long. Most of my clients see 47% lower premiums and even more with gold level plans. My Policy Quote has access to true private insurance based solely on your health and the coverage you select, not based on your income. My client Julie started a health plan this January 1st for $1,468 with a $10,600 deductible on an HMO. I got her into a $2,500 deductible, national PPO for $737 a month. If you pay your own health insurance, you're on COBRA, even self-employeds or small businesses, call me, Mike, today. 385-367-6779. Again, that's 385-367-6779. Or visit mypolicyquote.com. That's mypolicyquote.com to get started now.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,026 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,026 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,026 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Big tax changes this year could mean a bigger refund, and Jackson Hewitt knows how to get you your biggest. You'll get $100 just to try us. That won't make you filthy rich, but definitely gas plus groceries rich. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back, which would make you low-key loaded. Or at least wealthy adjacent? Go with our trusted pros and get $100 to switch. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Are 10th graders mature enough to understand legal issues and consequences? Call us at 801-575-TALK or text us at 57500 and let us know what you think. I would say this, what has changed since I graduated from high school to today, one of the most significant things, Holly, is the internet. And I think a lot of people don't recognize or realize the responsibility and the pitfalls you can get yourself into on the internet by clicking on you see something, I'd like to purchase that. You click on it.
Like a subscription or something?
Right, or an app or something like that. And suddenly you're on the hook for something that you may not have thought about, not to mention images, things that you can see on the internet today that weren't available.
Sure.
You go down that rabbit hole, there's all kinds of problems.
Oh, yeah, sure. Look, you asked the question, are 10th graders mature enough to understand these legal issues when they become 18? And we talked about taxes, contracts, responsibility to vote, jury duty. And look, we have a texter who said, I'm not quite convinced that most adults understand those things.
Good point.
Good point.
Good
yeah,
point.
Exactly. That's a really good point. It's interesting too. We had a couple of people say it's absolutely 10th graders should learn about tax laws. And this is a really good point too, although this is not in this particular bill. They say everybody should be required to take a car maintenance course, Where does the oil go? Where does the window fluid go? And that's a thing where I don't disagree at all, right? How do you change a tire? What do? You don't just stand by the side of the road helpless. So I know that there's a YouTube channel where a man he was abandoned by his father as he was growing up, and so he created a YouTube channel to teach kids what he wished he had a dad to teach him: how to tie a tie,
Right.
how to check your oil, why it's important. I will just say this: we have a daughter. She's not a minor. She's 21, almost 22, and she had a used car, and it was one of the cars that we had around in our family, lots and lots of miles on it, but it is dead. Because the oil went completely dry and the engine seized.
Yeah, there you go. Well, when I was in high school, and they probably still have this, we had auto shop, and I took that, but it wasn't mandatory.
Right.
We had wood shop, and I took that, but it wasn't mandatory. And we had some sort of a civics class that was specific to, like, bachelorhood or something. I forget what it was
Really?
called, but it was like you're going to go out into the real world.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a different one for boys as they did for girls, which was silly. But that's what life was like in the 70s.
Huh. Interesting. We have another texter that says, basically, living skills should include civics. Encourage lawmakers to design a program with short lessons on civics and socially acceptable behaviors from K to 12, basically to build on skills as you go through the year. And I think that's important too, right? I know there's conversations that happen in school about bullying, for example. And sadly, I think there are more conversations happening about dating violence and what's coercion. And that's really sad to me, but I think those conversations are happening, but I don't think there's a mandate.
And I think a lot of people think when you're 18 you can vote, which is true, but you don't automatically. You still have to register.
Yeah.
You still have to get. They think, oh, I'm 18 now, I'm going to show up at the polling.
Yeah, that
place.
doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
that
you're
way.
right. You're right. Yeah.
And understanding what it means to be a voter, because a lot of people want to vote. They look forward to that and say, what do I need to do? Well, you need to register.
Yeah, that's right. And again, could it be built incrementally? Yeah, absolutely. That's probably a really great idea. I know teachers are like, please don't give me one more thing to do. I get that. And I also say I try to do stuff like that at my house. And, when I'm trying to remember, my high school years were really disjointed because I spent 3 of them in France, which is very, very different than the United States. And then I came back. And I left high school. I did not graduate, actually. I left high school when I was 16, and I went straight to college. And then, I went on from there. But I have no memory of my parents sitting me down to say, here's how you handle credit. In fact, one of my kids said to me, one of my adult kids, he's in his mid-30s now, he's like, financial literacy was kind of a black hole for us when we were growing up. And I said, that's because I never learned it either.
Right.
So, I know how to manage a budget and I understand credit, but I didn't spend a lot of time. I certainly didn't teach my kids about investment stuff. And I never sat down and said, let's have a conversation about what it means to sign a contract. I didn't do that.
Exactly. That's what financial literacy should include, is that financial responsibility.
Yeah.
Financial, what are you on the hook for when you do something when you're 18? Because it's different. And again, I reiterated this already, but when you're 18, you're an adult for most all purposes, and you don't get to say, well, I didn't know, or I was too young, or I'm not financially responsible.
Right.
You are.
I remember, this is going to tell on me again. So when I went through college as a teenager, and I told you I started when I was 16, but I graduated with a nursing degree when I was 19, so I was an adult at that point. Well, I didn't realize that when I took out student loans, it was my responsibility to let them know what my latest address was. Well, I didn't do that. And they found me with a collections notice on my student loans. And it's like, what is this? It's like, you got to pay it all right away. It's like, I can't pay that all right away. That was a lesson for me, too. Just like, oh, there are some obligations that come with this.
Or if you get sued, like say by a landlord or by a credit card company or something like that, you think, well, I'll just file a bankruptcy someday. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
You have to understand a lawsuit when you're 18 is a little different.
Yeah. You mentioned in our last segment, you mentioned what rights employees have, and when they're 16 years old, what hours they can work are different than when they're 18.
Right.
It just reminded me of another bill that we've talked about that's on the Hill, and I think it's Representative Clancy who's going to run this bill. But he said it's a non-compete bill because there are places where these kids are working for basically for fast food restaurants and they get a non-compete. That is weird, right? And how many teenagers know what a non-compete clause is?
Yeah, Utah law has long recognized non-compete agreements, although our courts have more and more felt like it was not a good thing because it discourages employees from getting other jobs or from moving forward, and it stops them if they want to go. So his bill would do away with non-compete agreements. I can understand
under some circumstances.
Right. I can understand trade secrets. I mean, if you're working for a company and you have inside information about their customer base or their product or their what would be maybe copyrighted or something, I absolutely understand that. But working for a retail store and learning how to sell shoes really well shouldn't prevent you from going to a competing company that sells shoes also.
I think we talked with Tyler about that, and his example was somebody who worked at Jamba Juice couldn't go work at whatever the other smoothie place is. So that's wild. We have another texter who let us know that his wife and he both learned what not to do from our parents relating to finances. They never taught us what to do. We just saw what they did and then didn't do that.
Learn by bad example. What not to do. Well, that's a good learning course too. That's called the School of Hard Knocks. But what we're talking about is should 10th graders first of all, are they mature enough to understand legal issues, and should they be taught legal issues? My answer to both of those questions is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people might think it's a bit young. On the other hand, you sure don't want to get out of high school and turn 18 and not understand your legal rights and responsibilities.
Yeah, for sure. And look, this is actually a bill. It's proposed by Senator Kathleen Reeby, and it is up today in the Senate Education Committee. It'll be heard at 2 o'clock. So the way the committee meetings work is there's an agenda when they start and a start time. But then it's kind of fluid. So it's not the top of the agenda, but it is something that they are expecting to talk about this afternoon. And I don't think there will be opposition to this bill unless it's somehow somebody saying, I don't need one more thing to teach these kids.
Well, or there's some sort of a fiscal note to it that's unreasonable, but I can't imagine that either. I think that this is something most of our teachers could probably teach this standard on their head. They understand legal rights and responsibilities. And if you have civics classes, I'm sure there's some class that in the 10th grade curriculum already that we could fit this into.
That's right. And that's one of the options that she is, it's people can choose how they incorporate this into classes that they're already teaching. And there definitely are financial literacy classes, for example, that kids have to take to be able to graduate in the state of Utah. I just looked up the fiscal note, $0.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And hopefully that will be enacted. We'll follow that as we get closer and closer and the legislature starts dealing with that. But interesting bill. And it's something near and dear to me because I speak to groups all the time about the law, about criminal law. And I'm surprised, even like you said from one of our texters earlier, you can have an adult person who will say,
wait, what?
Right. Well, what's a felony? What's a misdemeanor? What do I do if a police officer stops me? What are my rights and responsibilities?
Well, we're going to talk. We're going to keep our eye on the Hill when we come back after this break. But there's an election bill that has a component that impacts one single senator on the Hill who is a member of the Forward Party. And legislators want to change how she got into office. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio, I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour, Utah fire officials are preparing for this summer, and they're talking about putting more eyes in the sky through aircraft and drones to watch for wildfires. The state is also taking part in a pilot program using 4 smoke-detecting AI cameras in southwest Utah to help spot fires and get firefighters on the scene faster.
The AI is able to distinguish smoke from fog, from inversions, from dust.
Peter Ambler works for Pano AI. He says they're working with the Utah's Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land to set up the 360-degree camera. He says as soon as smoke is detected, agencies are alerted. The hope is firefighters will be able to respond to fires when they're still small. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. White House border czar Tom Homan spoke with reporters this morning in Minneapolis, saying he's been meeting with the governor of the state, Governor Tim Walz, and other state and city leaders.
We didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions.
Homan is now supervising ICE operations in Minnesota. Your money at this moment all down. Dow is down 106, the S&P down 66, and the NASDAQ down 449 points. Coming up, how long is this freezing fog going to continue? KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Did you know bad bacteria causes cavities and tooth decay? Did you know bad bacteria feed off residue left by sugary foods and drinks? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters.
Be sure to brush 2 times daily for at least 2 minutes with fluoride toothpaste.
Floss once a day and limit sugary foods and drinks like sweetened juices, candies, and sodas.
Even sugar-free carbonated drinks can be harmful to teeth. Be sure to visit your dentist for regular checkups and cleanings. If you don't have a dentist, visit YourSmileUtah.org for more information on community dental services. This message is brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life. Learn more at YourSmileUtah.org.
Because your smile matters.
When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because, look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer-centric. That was what really impressed me was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at UCCU.com. Here's Jason Jones.
Thanks, Heather. We have a new accident. This one's going to be northbound I-15 at 114th South, right where the off-ramp is there, and the 2 right lanes are blocked. We are starting to see delays stretch through that area. And now the off-ramp remains open, so you can get down the off-ramp, but you are going to have to stick over to the left there. Now, that is the problem northbound. The problem southbound continues as it has all morning long, going on about 4 hours now that we've had this accident. That's on the southbound side of I-15. They've been trying to clean it up. It's at the point of the mountain, 156 South. The 2 right lanes remain blocked. Stay to the left, but the delays there are all the way back to about 114th South. Remember, visibility is still limited up in Weber and Davis counties. Lots of fog around up there. This Valentine's Day, take love to new heights at The Roof. Open for lunch and dinner. Enjoy city views, new decor, and viral favorites. Flatbreads, scones, funeral potato bites, steak, pork, or salmon entrees. Visit theroofslc.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
A freezing fog advisory is in effect along the northern Wasatch Front until 11, but later it'll warm up to a high of 42. Then we're expecting 46 on Friday and the mid-50s over the weekend. Right now it's foggy and 26 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, Holly, there is a new member of the Utah legislature this year, but she's not a Republican or a Democrat. Emily Buss, a member of the Forward Party of Utah, is the only third-party office holder on Capitol Hill. But the way she got here was a little bit unusual, and it's causing some lawmakers maybe to consider some legislation so it doesn't happen again.
Oh.
Tell us how we got here.
So, the way we got here. So, first of all, the way she got up there is because she ran for a vacancy from Senator Dan Thatcher. So when Dan Thatcher was elected to the Utah Senate, he was a registered Republican. Last legislative session, at the end of the session, he announced he was switching parties and he was going to belong to the Forward Party of Utah. Forward Party and United Utah Party joined together. So they're a third party, and they do have a national presence, but they're a third party. So he became the first lawmaker that was part of a third party. Well, he stepped down from his seat in December, but because of the way Utah law is written, is the party of the person who leaves a vacancy, you're going to have a special election for people in that party. And what they did, and we talked about this when it happened, they opened it up to anybody who wanted to vote in that election. So basically they held an open election. And then they had candidates who were, vying for that position as members of the Forward Party. Now, I don't think that's any different than Republican delegates getting together and selecting a replacement in the midterm vacancy replacement, or Democrats for a Democrat replacement. In fact, that's how a bunch of lawmakers, I think it's somewhere around a third, got into office the first time was through a special election. That's how I got in, right? There were 100 delegates and 62 voted for me, so I got in, right? Well, the complaint is, the Utah Forward Party doesn't have that many people in it. So it's not right that only 1,000 something people weighed in. It's like, it's a lot more than I had, right? So we're going to talk with Michelle Quist. She's the chair of the Utah Forward Party, and we have worked together for a long time in a variety of capacities. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Did I set that up okay? Did I kind of encapsulate it okay?
Yes, absolutely. We ran a preference poll in the entire Senate District 11 to ask the voters who they wanted to represent them. We didn't feel like it made sense to hold an internal party election to decide who the next senator should be, because that's not how elections should be run in a midterm vacancy, a situation. We don't think that that's how voters should be represented. 30%, more than 30% of the senators that are sitting right now have been appointed in that type of way, and we don't think that that's representative. And so we wanted to show a better way to do it, and so that's what we did. And in fact, more Republicans took part in our preference poll than unaffiliated voters and Democrats. So, to say that Republicans didn't elect Senator Buss is not correct, because they did.
Michelle, can you tell our listeners what they should know about the Forward Party of Utah and the United Utah Party that they may not know right now?
Absolutely. So Forward Party has a different type of platform than other parties. We believe in good government and in principled democracy. We don't have a platform like the traditional parties have. We don't have the typical platform. We let our legislators decide the policy positions that they take, and that way voters can decide the candidates that they believe in and elect the candidates that they believe in. We believe in good democracy, in good government, in better representation, in better elections, and an open, transparent government. And that's the type of good government that we're pushing. More and more Americans want more than two parties. They want a third, a fourth, a fifth party, because they understand that United States was never supposed to be a bipartisan government, or, a bipartisan country. And they understand that the politics that the way we are now is because of our bipartisan back and forth nature, and that it's not serving us. And so more and more people want more options, and that's what we're trying to provide by not pushing rhetoric and policy, but by pushing better government. And that's what the Forward Party is offering people. There are almost 36% of Utahns are unaffiliated. That's more than Utahns are registered Democrats. It's because Utahns aren't wanting to affiliate with parties. We want to be open to choose our candidates according to the policies that the candidates believe in. And that's why Forward doesn't have a specific policies for a platform. We just have good government and transparency in government. That's what we believe in.
So, Michelle,
and that's why, I was just going to say, that's why we did this open election for this, this midterm vacancy to show a better way to fill this process.
I thought it was an interesting process for sure. And one of the things, and one of the reasons, of course, that we're having you on today is because there is a bill on Capitol Hill. It is part of the omnibus bill that Senator McKell is promoting and putting forward. But what it would do is remove the ability for what happened with both Dan Thatcher changing and then resigning and Emily getting on, Senator Buss getting up there. So what this bill would do is say that a person who steps down during their term would be replaced by delegates from the party of which they were a part of when they were first elected, which to me, I mean, I know I'm opinionated and I don't think that's a surprise, but to me, it feels like very, very targeted at Senator Buss and probably Senator Thatcher. And I'm wondering, like, what is your response officially as the party behind Senator Buss?
Well, obviously, we're very proud of the fact that we opened up a midterm vacancy to the entire district. We allowed unaffiliated voters to participate, which they never get to participate in these midterm vacancy elections. We allowed Democrats and Republicans to participate in an internal Forward Party, appointment process that could have just been a Forward Party process. This bill, though, does more than just that. It establishes a process to fill a vacancy created by an office holder who was not affiliated with a political party at the time the office holder was last elected or appointed. But if the office holder is elected who's unaffiliated and then they leave midterm, the majority party then gets to go and appoint a replacement. And the two Democrats on the committee voted for that. I don't know why they would have ever voted for that. Now, the Forward Party is flattered that the legislature is worried that it will see more members leaving the GOP. And with the authoritarian and violent activities we've been seeing across the nation and principled legislators in the legislature in Utah now, Senator Thatcher's defection will likely not be the last. So I understand why the legislature wants to change the rules now to hold on to their power. But parties do not own these seats. Voters get to decide who represents them. And what the legislature should be doing instead of trying to change the rules to hold on to their power is to redo this midterm vacancy system completely, so that instead of appointing through the delegate process, so that 9 people decide who replaces. That's how many people decided who elected Senator Fillmore. or 274, that's who elected Senator Brammer, or 128, that's how many elected Senator Balderi. They should redo the entire system so that it is a special election, so that the voters get to decide and not a handful of party bosses or delegates that have predetermined which party leaders get to then get appointed to these really important decisions up on Capitol Hill.
Thank you so much. That was Michelle Quist, and she's the chair of the Forward Party. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about a concerning new report that shows thousands of older adults in Salt Lake County cannot afford groceries without help. We're going to talk about that.
Do you remember when tankless water heaters were the big new thing? We all had a friend that was raving about how efficient they were, heating only the water that was needed, saving money, water, the efficiency, amazing. And then sitting next to it was the ordinary water softener, regenerating soft water every night, no matter how much was used, using a predictable yet completely wasteful amount of salt. Looking back, it really doesn't make sense, does it? If you don't have a Connecticut soft water system, you're likely using about 2/3 more salt than you need to. It's not rocket science. It's the same way a tankless water heater only heats the water you use. A Connecticut water softener precisely uses the exact amount of salt needed to give you endless, perfectly soft water for your 2-bed condo or 4-story mansion. Save on money, save on salt. Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600, or visit softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug Wright sent you.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
This year's tax changes. Better not get caught snoozing. Miss one deduction, lose thousands. Not amusing.
Big tax changes can mean bigger refunds at Jackson Hewitt. And right now, get $100 just to try us.
Don't worry, tax filers. If money is tight, get $100 from Jackson Hewitt, so you'll sleep better at night.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, there's some troubling information involving our elder population in Salt Lake County, and that is that 7,600 older adult households depend on public assistance to put food on the table in Salt Lake County. There's new research conducted by the county's Office of Regional Development and helped by the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute that finds that 5.7% of seniors rely on SNAP benefits.
So we've talked about SNAP benefits on this show multiple times, especially in relation to the government shutdown in the fall. But I did not realize how many senior households were dependent on outside help to be able to put food on their table. So we have with us Afton January. She's the communications and PR manager with the Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services to talk to us about this issue. Thanks for joining us, Afton.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here.
Can you talk to us about, first of all, about this study, and were you surprised by the findings?
Absolutely. So this study is part of a broader research project that our Age-Friendly Salt Lake County initiative is pursuing. We are looking at all of the facts around older adults and conducting research, like I said, with Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute to help us determine what needs to be done on a policy level in Salt Lake County to make sure that our community is more friendly to older adults.
Can I just ask you, sorry, really quick, what is an older adult?
Absolutely. So an older adult is a person that we define as ages 60 and over. And I know that might hurt to some folks who are hearing it. But that's sort of how our federal government defines older people under the Older Americans Act, which is how my agency is funded.
Well, it's nice to know we've got an audience here of older adults for you.
Right here.
So before we talk about what can be done, tell us what Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services does, Afton.
Absolutely. So, as we look at this research and we see that there are a lot of individuals who are relying on outside help, it reminds me of the help that we provide at Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services. Our Meals on Wheels program, which most people have heard of, delivers those home-delivered meals to older people 5 days a week. And last year we served almost 400,000 meals to older adults just in Salt Lake County. So, it's a huge impact of older adults who cannot leave home or prepare food for themselves, and they rely on Meals on Wheels, and a lot of them on those SNAP benefits to make sure that they have enough food on the table each day.
Afton, we talked, as I mentioned, about the impacts to SNAP, especially when we were talking about the government shutdown. If there's any kind of federal changes or even state changes to, well, I guess SNAP is federal. If there's changes or cuts, how does it impact these seniors who are relying on these?
Sure. So, SNAP is a really good resource for older adults and, frankly, a lot of other families, children with families, a lot of people rely on it. And what SNAP allows people to do is leverage the other resources that they have available to them to pay for their basic needs. So cuts and changes could potentially really negatively impact a lot of individuals, including our older adults. Obviously, less money for food means less food on the table. And that increases people's risk of malnutrition, but it also can create a real strain on local food resources like Meals on Wheels, food banks, senior centers that provide our daily meals to those older adults who can leave home. So it's a big concern for us.
Under what circumstances does an older adult qualify for services such as Meals on Wheels in Salt Lake County?
Meals on Wheels has a fairly broad eligibility requirements. In Salt Lake County, for our program, you have to live in Salt Lake County. You need to be older than 60 years and showing us in some way that you are homebound and that you can't prepare meals for yourself. So you're not able to drive, maybe you don't have transportation, or you might have some mobility issues that keep you in the home. So what we do is we use our volunteers and our staffers to provide hot meals 5 days a week for individuals who are homebound to help reduce that burden on them. Senior centers, similarly, you need to be 60 years or older, but those are a resource for people who can leave home. And in Salt Lake County, we have 15 senior centers where we're serving a lunch meal every day. Those are offered at a suggested donation. But for people who can't afford it, we certainly don't press the issue.
We're speaking with Afton January, Communications and PR Manager with Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services. And Afton, you kind of addressed this when you said that people who qualify for Meals on Wheels have trouble leaving their house. And so one of the questions that I had is, if that's the case and SNAP benefits are reduced or somehow impacted negatively, they're going to have trouble getting out to food banks. What then?
Absolutely. That is definitely a concern. You know, I was just looking at the food bank resources this morning and was reminded that the food bank does have a food box program that is specifically for homebound older adults. They have volunteers who deliver boxes of food to individuals at their homes. So, I mean, that's obviously a wonderful resource. But one of the concerns, I think, as we look at the way that we braid our federal and our local programs together, is that if one of them goes away, it creates a burden on those other systems, and there may be people who fall through the cracks.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention something after, and that was a couple years ago. Both my parents, who were residents of Salt Lake County and who were just short of 90, finally reached out to you all, and we're getting these Meals on Wheels, and I was very impressed with the quality of the meals. I was very impressed with the service that they were getting, the people that were coming and delivering those. And I just have to say a shout out to you all. And I know there's not a question there, but how do people find out more about the services that Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services provides?
Well, first of all, that's such a wonderful shout out, and thank you so much for those kind compliments. Our team, from our vendor who prepares the meals to our drivers and volunteers who deliver them, really are dedicated people who do a wonderful job, and I'm really glad that your parents were able to access that resource. In Salt Lake County, to connect with Meals on Wheels or senior centers, you can find us on our website at saltlakecounty.gov/aging, or by calling us directly at 385-468-3200. But I do want to acknowledge that not all of your listeners are in Salt Lake County. So for those who might be in other parts of the state and are interested in connecting with Meals on Wheels program, reach out to your local area agency on aging, which you can find if you go to the Utah Division of Aging and Adult Services website. If you just Google your local area agency on aging, you should be able to connect with them fairly quickly.
Afton, can you give us some ideas on what we could do to help our neighbors, parents, grandparents? Greg and I are both over 60, but we're still, I think, in a position where we could do something to help.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, that's one of the things that's very interesting about particularly those who volunteer with Meals on Wheels, which I think is one of the most impactful things a person can do if they want to help combat hunger among seniors in their community. Most of our Meals on Wheels volunteers are over 60 themselves. And so this is a really great opportunity for people to, you know, support each other, for seniors to support other seniors. You know, being an older adult is a designation that we give to people that encompasses a 40-plus year span of life. So not all older adults are going to be in the same place in terms of their needs. And it's really warms my heart when I encounter our volunteers and our staff, most of whom are over 60 and who personally understand why some of their peers or some of the individuals who are maybe just a generation older than them really need that assistance. So volunteering, donating to Meals on Wheels, but more than that, looking out for the neighbors and the people in your community, the people that you go to church with, you know, your older loved ones. Just checking in with people and making sure that they're doing okay is always a good idea, and it really is a critical part of
supporting older adults in our communities.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Afton January, Communications and PR Manager for Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services. And Holly, that literally was a lifesaver for my parents who were just in no position to cook anymore once they got to that age.
Yeah.
When we come back after the break, this is an interesting question. Is diet soda better for you than plain water? The answer to that might surprise you. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a bill aimed at educating parents and children on e-bike safety is also being debated by the state legislature.
We want kids to operate these. We want them to have a great time, but we want them to do it safely with helmets and following the laws.
OHV Program Manager Wade Allenson helped present the bill yesterday and says many people confuse e-bikes and electric motorcycles. The bill would create a safety course for kids to complete online or in school. The course would help teach traffic rules, how to ride safely, and the importance of wearing a helmet. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, a murder in Chicago is being linked to frustrations over an online sale.
Chicago police say a Facebook marketplace transaction gone wrong led to the murder of a 30-year-old pregnant mother. Police say Eliza Morales was stabbed 70 times. They say the 19-year-old suspect, Nadis Revucas, bought a truck from Morales' husband on Facebook Marketplace. And when he arrived to pick up the bill of sale, Eliza answered the door. Court documents say Revucas was angry about the condition of the truck and decided to take out his frustration on Eliza.
ABC's Andrea Fujii reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow right now up just 2 points. We're at 49,018. Coming up, still some patches of heavy fog around. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you, like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
When you're making resolutions for the new year, have you ever thought of making a resolution to get a new metabolism?
So that your body is burning fat more naturally? I used to have a terrible metabolism because I didn't know what to eat or when to eat it until I did Soda weight loss. I let go of 37 pounds, and now my metabolism works for me.
I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and it was so nice because once that metabolism changes, the things that affected you more regularly don't affect you anymore. And those are the things that I learned from my nutritionist as I was going along and even afterward. It's so helpful. They taught me how to be successful for life.
You can call and speak to a nutritionist at Soda Weight Loss today at 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A. That's 866-800-SODA.
Or you can go to sodaweightloss.com and see the hundreds of before and after pictures. And right now is the best time to do it because if you join now, your partner joins for free, so you get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
It's 866-800-SODA.
Because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. And back to you, Jason.
And Amanda, well, I mean, there's sort of some good news. Southbound I-15, the delays aren't quite as far now. They're at the 123rd South instead of 114th. But I think that has more to do with the fact that there's just fewer cars on the road on that southbound side of I-15 because the accident's still there and the right lanes are still blocked as you try to make your way past 156th South. And it's, they haven't opened into any of the lanes, so you stick to the left, and it's still going to take you extra time to get into Utah County this morning. The accident that we had northbound I-15 right at the 114th South off-ramp, they have cleared that over to the side, so now all lanes are open, and most of the delays that we have are gone. The rest of your commute is still looking pretty good. Just a little bit slow up in Weber and Davis counties because there's some fog around up there. Down on 2100 North in Lehigh, it's still fairly heavy as you try to make your way over towards I-15. Visit the Boat Show and Water Sports Expo Thursday through Sunday, January 29th through February 1st at the Mountain America Expo. Buy tickets online at utahboatshow.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll get up to 42 degrees today with clouds. 46 tomorrow. We'll be in the 50s on the weekend. Right now it's 27 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
We have some breaking news. Democrats have voted to block legislation to fund the Department of Homeland Security and several other agencies this morning. This comes as they continued to negotiate with Republicans and the White House on new restrictions for President Donald Trump's surge of immigration enforcement. Today's 45-55 test vote came as Democrats have threatened a partial, please don't say it, government shutdown when the money runs out on Friday.
Friday's tomorrow, and I will just say this. They have been very clear that they are Okay, we're back. Anyway, the Democrats have been very clear that they are not going to continue to fund ICE until they see some really significant changes. And to your point about a government shutdown, it would not be a complete shutdown, only a partial.
Yes, I was reminded of this by my wife who works for the judiciary, and she said, we're included in part of this budget. We may be not getting paid here after
Look,
Friday.
I mean, I think there are ways to bring people to the table, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
So we do want to talk about what could be potentially good news for our Diet Coke drinkers.
Just for the fun of it, just for the fun of it.
This is interesting because I had never expected this, but new research shows that for certain people, drinking diet soda may be no different than drinking water, no worse, and in some cases it's potentially better.
Which surprised me because I had heard that if you wanted to lose weight, diet soda wasn't even that helpful. So you didn't have the calories, but there were other things with it. And so if you were stuck in your weight loss, diet soda wasn't that great. But I have a brother who consumes inordinate amounts, I think, of Coke Zero every day. And I was like, I don't know if that's good for you. And he goes, my cardiologist said it is just like water. Oh,
okay. You're getting fluids into your system. Here's my bad story. In high school, I was on the wrestling team, and our coaches said, do not drink carbonated beverages. They cut your wind. I have no idea if that was true, but I don't drink carbonated drinks, and I haven't for 50 years since I graduated from high school.
So this study, what's interesting about the study is they were not looking at sugar soda versus artificial sweetener soda. They were looking at these artificially sweetened drinks and comparing them to water. And then for some patients, they found that it could drop, especially patients with type 2 diabetes. They didn't see a whole lot, except that there were some differences in the A1C, which is the blood sugar marker.
Yeah, and we're looking at a study from the University of California, Irvine, and the University of Minnesota that recruited adults 35 and over with type 2 diabetes and had a habit of drinking artificially sweetened beverages, and actually found that in some respects this could help them with that condition. I mean, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and A1C levels are important, and that really is the marker that you look for when you have type 2 diabetes, which I have. That was because I spent many years not paying attention to my health, to be honest. So I have a lot of friends who are Diet Coke drinkers. I prefer Coke Zero. I like the taste better. It's a different form of artificial sweetener. But I love Dr. Pepper, too, and Dr. Pepper Free, and it comes in all kinds of different flavor variations. But it's one of the issues. Like I can't even drink a sugar soda anymore because it's so sweet. It tastes so sweet. But now that I have permission that it's just as good as water, well, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, maybe you will. And I can't drink carbonated drinks because they just burn. I'm just not used to them.
That's so interesting,
and so if I have a carbonated, but this is a completely off topic, but Diet Coke versus Coke Zero, you can tell the difference.
Oh, yeah.
I just
absolutely.
I absolutely have no idea how people can tell the
I
difference
didn't drink
between
Coke
Coke and
for
Pepsi.
many years. Oh, I do not like Pepsi. I'm sorry if you're a Pepsi lover. I don't like Pepsi. I would rather have water. We do have a couple of textures. Like soda is bad for you, whatever you decide, but the healthiest is soda with sugar cane in it. Diet soda, this is a different one, has a plethora of chemicals, definitely not the same as water. And then a dentist will tell you that carbonated beverages, even without sugar, are awful for your teeth. I think they are for the enamel, right? The carbonation part, which doesn't have any calories. But I think it's interesting. It's a fun study, and this is the Deseret News reporting on this study. But one of the related articles is the art of the dirty soda. so you're totally missing out by not going to Swig and all these other Sodalicious, all the ones that put stuff in the sodas.
Can you get a diet?
Yeah.
Swigs at those places?
Yeah,
You can get
you can.
Zero
and
calorie or low calorie?
You can get 0 calorie, and then it depends on what you put in. So if you put in a sugar syrup, well, then there goes your 0 calories.
I've never been to one of those places, and I have no idea what they serve.
You can get non-carbonated stuff. They do have like some Powerade kind of things that you can have that are not carbonated. But yeah, look, there's a big market for that here in the state of Utah. I think some of that is that a number of us don't drink alcohol, but I don't know. I mean, I think dirty sodas, there's a thing called Italian sodas too, which is basically club soda with some flavored syrups and then cream. What's not to like?
Yeah, and one of the studiers said, look, this was not done by the companies that make these drinks. This was an independent study, and sort of give us a little credibility here. It was not sponsored by the beverage industry at all, and this is an epidemiologist with a university in Australia who said, look, I saw this research and it's very helpful, but good information that, again, is not biased by having been sponsored by the beverage industry.
Right. I mean, you always have to have a little bit of question if it is, right?
Right,
That
yes,
was like
of course.
studies that studied smoking and sponsored by tobacco companies.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, this is again, the conclusion is at worst, it's no difference between diet soft drinks and water.
I would say
when it comes to diabetes.
Right. But also, I think it's important to know that so many Americans are dehydrated in the sense that they're just not getting enough fluids. They're just not drinking enough. So to me, if you're drinking a diet drink, but you're at least putting fluids in your system, it's got to be better than... I'm not saying it's better than water, but it's better than not drinking at all.
I'm not a doctor, but one of the things I have heard is that there are, especially with the caffeine is a diuretic, and so you can drink a caffeinated drink, but you actually don't get a net benefit for the fluids, and you'll stay dehydrated. But there also can be sodium, right, salt in some of these drinks, and that is also a diuretic, which means you're going to put out more than you're taking in.
Guess what the current #1 soda is in America?
Coke.
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper is #1. I thought it was #2.
Dr. Pepper is now America's second favorite soda.
Okay.
You're right.
Coke's
Coke's
number 2.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a fun study. And
And your
I think I need a drink.
Yeah, you need a shot of Coke Zero.
No, it's
Or
Dr.
Diet
Pepper
Coke.
Zero.
Yeah,
Dr. Pepper Zero for
Okay,
me.
all
Thank
right.
you so much. Okay, so when we come back after this next break, we're going to talk about a case that you and I have not talked about. At least I don't remember it. But Jennifer Gledhill, the Utah woman who is accused of shooting her husband, National Guardsman Matthew Johnson, she was scheduled in court this morning. Her husband's body, former husband, I guess, has still not been found. So we're going to talk to Greg about that case when we come back.
Drivers who switch their home and auto with Progressive could save money and time. Other things try to do this, but they really don't. Like the touchscreen at fast food places. It's not like you save time because it takes you longer to use a touchscreen than, I don't know, someone who works there. And another thing, you'd think it would save money because they're not paying a cashier, right? But no, same price. Also, why is there an option to tip? Who am I tipping? Exactly. Anyway, even if you can't save money and time with some things, you could with a Progressive home and auto bundle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states or situations.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder, now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Join KSL on the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at the Layton NPS store at 1150 North Main Street in Layton. NPSstore.com.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad, and I feel very proud to be his son.
I was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources.
Jennifer Gledhill, a Utah woman accused of shooting her husband, National Guardsman Matthew Johnson, was scheduled to be in court this morning at 9 o'clock. She had a pretrial conference on her homicide case at 9. Looking at the docket right now, it has not been updated, so we don't know exactly what happened. But the pretrial conference is the step right before the case is scheduled for trial.
I was going to say, you say words I do not know.
Right. So pretrial conference means, what are we doing?
Okay.
All the steps have occurred now except for setting it for trial. My guess is when they update the docket, they'll say that she's got a trial coming up probably this summer sometime.
Can you just remind us how long this has been going on? Because it kind of feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, so he turned up missing, her husband, on September 21st of 2024. And a fellow National Guardsman contacted law enforcement and said, hey, this guy he's usually really good. He shows up for all his National Guard obligations. We haven't seen him. He's been gone for a while. Law enforcement, of course, goes and does what they call a home
check.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they go to the house and they interview her, and she's absolutely presumed innocent. We don't know much about what her defense is and what's happening there, but they're concerned about some of the things she said. And if you recall this one, it was interesting because they talked to her parents who were doing some home improvement after the husband became missing, including changing out the bed, getting new mattresses, cleaning the walls, cleaning things like that.
With bleach?
Yes, with bleach. The kind of things we all do when we're cleaning up our house.
Sure.
And so, but police were able to find under the bed a significant amount of what appeared to be cleaned up human blood. That the DNA that I'm looking at hadn't come back conclusive yet, but it wouldn't have excluded her husband as the donor of that blood. There's probably been some updates in that.
So he
hasn't been found
So
yet.
he disappeared. He didn't show up. The National Guard, they put out an alert. They couldn't find him, but there was some funky stuff at the house. So what is she facing? What charges is she facing? Because there's no body.
Right. Well, she is facing the murder charge. That's number one. She is accused of murdering her husband, obstructing justice, because what they claim is that she hid the body. Another count of obstructing justice for what they claim was, like you just talked about, cleaning up the house, doing that kind of a thing. They have actually 5 counts of obstructing justice for all of the steps that they're claiming she took to clean up the crime scene, to dispose of the body, which was never found. Apparently, it was placed in some sort of one of those overhead containers that you have on a car, like you put like a roof rack kind of a thing. How she would have lifted him or done that, I don't know. But some neighbors saw some shenanigans going on. Again, and her paramour, who has now cooperated with the police, or at least he did at the time, had a lot of information about the fact that she had made some statements involving her husband, and that would have corroborated the state's case that she murdered him.
So paramour, you mean somebody she was having an affair with?
Yes.
That?
You don't like my legal words.
No, it's good. It's okay. I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
I'm just clarifying. So she's facing charges. She had, a pretrial conference. Is that what you called it today?
That was this morning. So she's had all the steps that lead up to trial. She's had the arraignment.
Okay.
Looks like there was a preliminary hearing that was held. She's got an attorney, and the state's got its attorneys also. It's here in Salt Lake County because it's I think it's a West Jordan case. And so the next step would be the jury trial itself, which will be scheduled. And maybe they're talking about negotiations. I don't know for sure. But the probable cause statement in this thing is really interesting because it talks about the steps that law enforcement went through to try to put this case together. And we've had cases in Utah before, and even I was involved in the prosecution of an individual whose wife we never found. Obviously, a homicide case is a lot easier to prosecute
if there's
with
a
body because you have the what's called the corpus delicti, which is literally the corpse
the
in
body.
this case, right? The body of the crime. That's what it means. And so you have that, and you have a medical examiner who looks at that and says, "I examined the body, and it is my opinion that this person died as a result of blunt force trauma or a shot."
Okay,
to
yeah,
the head or something. So
sure. They can describe
not a heart attack kind of a
Sure.
thing. So you miss that. It's a critical component, but it's not 100% critical. So a case can be prosecuted by what we call circumstantial evidence. In other words, is there some reason to believe that she committed this crime and disposed of the body based on what was found at the scene of the house, the crime scene, and what was seen by her actions at or about that same period of time.
Yeah.
Where it looks like she was moving or disposing of the body.
So I think that I've learned from you before that before it even reaches this phase, they have to decide if there's enough that they can actually prosecute. And so it sounds to me like what you're saying is they feel like there's enough pieces that they can put together that even without his body, that they could go ahead and prosecute her.
Right, based on what they have. So a jury decides this, and you don't need a body. I mean, we don't. It's not a requirement. Obviously, it's easier if you have that, and you have a cause of death and a manner of death. Those things are important, but they're not necessary. So the jury will weigh the case, and they'll hear the case if there is a jury, and it's a high standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If the jury has any doubt, that maybe the jury will say, we don't even believe that he's dead. That's a critical element that the state would have to prove. That it's not that they can't prove to 100% certainty that he's dead, but the law doesn't require that. It's proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
He hasn't been seen now in 2 years, year and a half, right? So that's pretty good evidence that he's gone or deceased. Her parents were interviewed, and they gave sort of varying accounts of this. It's one of those cases that may be
Were they charged with anything?
I don't see that they were. I think that they could have been, based on the probable cause statement I'm reading, they could have been charged with being accessories to the obstruction of justice if they felt that was the case. They may have. They may have been, but it doesn't say that here from what I'm looking at. They may also be called as witnesses. And if you're charged with a crime and you're called as a witness, you say, I'm not talking because of the Fifth Amendment, but if you're not...
Is that a clear indicator that something happened?
No, I mean, it's not something the jury is even supposed to hear about. So if you know a person's going to invoke the Fifth Amendment, you're not supposed to put them on the stand in the first place. But they probably would invoke prior to getting on the stand and say, we're not testifying. I don't know. I'm just reading between the lines here because it's such an interesting case. This is one of those cases that could be a TV movie someday. You know what I mean? If it's proven, or if it's not. I mean, who knows what the evidence is going to show. But the probable cause statement is, I would say, fairly compelling toward her culpability in this.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you don't have to have a body, and it reminded me of the case of Kiplin Davis. Do you remember that one? So she was a 15-year-old high school student in Utah. She disappeared from her high school campus in Spanish Fork in May of 95.
She's still never been found.
She's never been found. Yeah, her body's never been found. And the guy that went to jail, he pled guilty to manslaughter. He said, this is Timothy Brent Olson. He pled guilty to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. He is due for release in February.
That's one of those cases where a 15-year sentence probably means 15 years.
15 years,
yeah.
But he will have served his full entire sentence. He admitted that he saw her dead body. He said it was somebody else, but he has refused the entire time to tell police where her body is located. Anyway,
there were others
there
involved
was
in
something.
that
He wouldn't name his co-conspirators or whatever you call them either.
Yeah, it is difficult when you don't have a body, but it's not impossible. And I think people always think, well, how do you even know there's been a homicide? Well, you don't. And that's why you have a jury. That's why you put the case before them and let them decide if there was a homicide. And secondarily, if the accused, the person that's sitting, in this case, Jennifer Gledhill, committed the crime. So it's a high standard. We don't have the trial yet, but it's interesting because the case came up for hearing today, pre-trial conference, just to kind of see, hey, what's going on with this case? Where are we?
Yeah. Well, do we have any positive stories today?
The Diet Coke thing.
Diet
Come
Coke.
on.
Okay.
That was a good story.
Okay, we can have diet soda instead of water.
Well, when we come back, this is something that, again, sort of near and dear to me. The Utah State Bar has taken a position opposing some of Utah legislature's proposals impacting Utah's judiciary, including expanding the Utah Supreme Court. We will learn more about those concerns when the bar president-elect calls the show after this.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. A 22-year-old man was killed in a car accident near Brigham City this morning. Utah Highway Patrol says a call came in just before 2 a.m. reporting a car driving fast on I-15 with its lights off. Officials say the driver later crashed into the back of a semi and he died at the scene. They say the driver of the semi drove off but called police several hours later. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Some popular food products sold in 3 states are being recalled due to possible exposure to rodent waste.
It's a long list of food products being recalled in 3 states where they were sold in Indiana, Minnesota, and North Dakota. A distribution company may have kept them in unsanitary conditions where they could have come in contact with rodent and bird droppings and urine. That company initiated a recall in December. Now the FDA is classifying it as one that could cause adverse health consequences. The impacted products include things like Nutella, Cheerios, Gatorade, Coca-Cola, Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, and Jolly Ranchers, sold in those 3 states. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 212 points. The S&P is down 66. And coming up, patchy fog. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
When Team USA is on, you can almost see the moment a kid starts believing they could be next. Now, while Xfinity can't guarantee that, they can guarantee something just as important, that your internet price won't change for 5 years. No contracts or commitments, so while your kid is ordering gear online, streaming highlight reels, or video chatting, your Xfinity internet price won't budge. And who knows, by the time the next Olympic Winter Games roll around, your kid could be getting fitted for their very own Team USA uniform, and guess what? You'll still be paying the same price for reliable Wi-Fi. And there's even more to enjoy with the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get their best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed. Just $50 a month, plus get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 monthly value. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
Emergency traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Looking at big delays still continuing due to an earlier crash southbound I-15. You're going to see delayed travel. That's going to start right about 123rd South in Draper, extending down to about 146 South, also at the Draper Bluffdale exit. Once you get past that, you're seeing good speeds, and then also we still have some reduced visibility in the Syracuse area. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
There's some fog lingering in spots all over Davis and Salt Lake County. That will disperse as we head into the afternoon. Temperatures rise to the low 50s this weekend. Right now it is 28 and foggy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we look at some bills that are being considered by the Utah State Legislature right now, the Utah State Bar has taken a position opposing most of the bills that deal with Utah's judiciary, including one expanding the Utah Supreme Court. I'm looking at 8 bills in particular, Holly, that deal with the judiciary, that deal with the courts, that deal with other things related to the practice of law. The Utah State Bar supported 1 and opposed 7. The one that they supported is one we talked about yesterday, I think, which was the bill dealing with the unauthorized practice
fake attorneys.
Of law. Right.
Yeah.
That
Fake
one
attorneys.
is no surprise that the bar took a position on that one.
I was interested to see that that they rarely take positions, but they can take positions on bills that directly impact the practice of law, of course. So we have with us to break down some more about these bills Utah State Bar President-elect Tyler Young, and he's also a Utah State Bar Commissioner, which actually I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Thanks for joining us, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. Thanks, Greg.
You bet. So,
and Bar Commissioner, we're the essentially the voting board of the Utah State Bar. That's what a commissioner is.
All right, thank you.
And from the commission comes the president usually. It's usually one of the bar commissioners.
Okay.
I think it's always been that way. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Tyler. Talk to us about some of these bills. Let's speak specifically about, well, I don't know where to start. There's one that I want to ask you about that I wasn't familiar with, and I'm a lawyer, by the way. The Constitutional Court. I don't know what that would mean, what it is.
That's a good question. This just popped up Tuesday, and when I say popped up, the bar first learned about this on Tuesday. I didn't know what it meant either, and frankly, when I spoke to the House yesterday, I didn't have a full understanding of what the bill means. It's nearly 1,200 lines long, not pages, but lines. But the way it will work and the way candidates are appointed, how it will be funded, the exact cases that will get there and how they'll get there is a little unclear from the statute, at least as I've been able to digest it.
It looks, it looks.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it looks, Tyler, like they wanted to appoint 3 judges to that, but I can't imagine there would be enough of a caseload. I mean, it deals with constitutional issues and injunctions that, of course, we've dealt with a couple of those. And I guess maybe there's not really much of a question here, but it doesn't seem like a court that's really all that necessary to deal with, because they don't happen that often.
Right, and we also have a process in place already for cases, the constitutionality of those to be challenged, and that's in our district courts, as you know. I think one of the things with this bill that we would have liked to have seen, similar to the Business and Chancellery Court that came up a couple years ago, was months of discussion ahead of time with the courts, with the bar, with attorneys about how this will work, how it will be funded, what the answers to your questions there would mean. What will these judges do when they're not considering constitutional questions? Will they be district court judges or something else? And really a lot of that we just don't have a complete understanding of right now. And we haven't had the opportunity to compare this type of court to the 2 other courts that are somewhat similar to this in the country. Haven't had an opportunity to see how well those courts function, what their statutes say, and then compare that to the Utah statute here to see how it would function here.
I'm going to ask you some more questions about this, and I come at it from more of a background in politics, and so less in the law. But as I read the bill, and I'm looking at the lines that are down, 700, 800-ish in the bill that talk about what this court would do. And as I read the bill, it sounds like what the legislature wants to do is set up a court that would listen to cases when people want to bring a civil case against maybe the Utah legislature for something that they passed. It just makes me think of Proposition 4, for example, and some of the other issues that maybe the Utah legislature does not like the way the courts ruled. And am I misinterpreting this?
Well, and this is about the most exciting thing we can do on radio is read exact code provisions, right?
Right.
But if we, a big point of discussion at the House last night, the House committee that heard this bill, was line 750 in the bill that said the Attorney General or the legislature has the right to file a notice of removal to the Constitutional Court in any civil action of significant public importance. And that term right there, I guess we could all scratch our heads a little bit and say, what is significant public importance? Is that one that they just determine is important, that they can remove? And does that mean that if they don't like, for example, their district court judge in a case that's assigned, can they then just forum shop and move this over to this constitutional court? That is a good question in terms, and I hate to touch too much on Prop 4. I don't know that as a bar commissioner, the president-elect of the bar, that I should touch on that. That's not really my spot. But to talk about how a court may function and the questions that we have, I do feel comfortable talking about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me ask you this, Tyler. There was also a bill that will, if passed, add 2 justices to the Utah Supreme Court, and I think 2 to the Court of Appeals, and maybe 3 to the District Court. I heard the Chief Justice speak at the sort of the State of the Judiciary at the outset of the legislative session, saying we don't really need more appellate court judges, but boy, we could sure use them at the trial court level. And as a trial court attorney myself, I really echo that, because we have these trial court judges that are hearing calendars now that have over 100 cases a day or even a half a day. Is that why the bar took a position in opposition to this, that maybe we need more at that level than at the appellate level?
I think other than a little statement that you'd probably even correct there that you made. So the bar supports the addition of new district court judges and new appellate court judges, but not the addition of new Supreme Court judges. And for the reasons that you pointed out, and that is that Chief Justice Durant spoke and said, look, we don't have a backlog in the Supreme Court. Any backlog that we did have was tied to COVID, and there is none there now. You're absolutely right, and Greg, I've seen you in courtrooms before, and in these packed courtrooms, and you're right that in Utah County, for example, that's my district, this is where I practice for the most part, many of the judges in Utah County have caseloads that are 130% of the recommended caseload for a judge. They have thousands of cases. Well, in excess of 1,000, many of these judges, many of them have in excess of 1,300 cases. And these are important cases, felony cases like you handle, Greg, and divorce cases and custody cases. Some of the most important issues in a kid's life or a parent's life is the custody of their kids. Felony cases, car wrecks. And these judges are getting 1,300 of these cases dumped on them at any one time, and we're expecting miracles for them. And unfortunately, we're stressing them out. The point of all of that discussion is they need resources in the district court in terms of court staff. They need to be able to retain court staff, to keep qualified court staff to help them write opinions, administer the courts, and we need more judges. These judges just have too many cases. And by spending this money in the Supreme Court, we're not spending it in the district courts and the Court of Appeals where we think there is the greatest need.
So one final question, we don't have a ton of time. Talk to us about judicial retention and the heartburn over the bill that would require 67%.
Yeah, good question. So currently, the law in Utah, as most people probably know, a judge just needs essentially 51% of the vote to be retained. we know that a segment of the population, I would listen to JPEC on what that exact number is, but it's around 25% of the population when they vote in their retention elections votes not to retain a judge. So it's my understanding that on average, a judge, before they get started, only has about 75% of the vote. So in theory, it only takes around 6 or 7% or around there to have a judge not be retained. There are several concerns about this with the bar, and that is that, number one, we're going to be scaring away qualified judicial candidates. We can see in the press right now, if a decision is unpopular of a judge, then there can be this outpouring in the press, folks coming out, maybe even lobbying efforts against a judge, that it wouldn't take a lot to get a judge unelected or off the bench. This judge has given up a private practice, has given up a job, and now they'd be out of a job if they're voted out, really because of like one unpopular decision. So this is something we have one of the greatest systems in the country. We don't know how lucky we are. You know, you look at places like Nevada where they have judicial elections and judges actually have to run and their faces are on billboards and things like that. And, you know, we have JPEC to evaluate judges and tell us who the judges are how the judges rank in terms of their demeanor in the courtroom, how well reasoned their decisions are. And we really have a great system as it is now. And so this 67%, as the bar sees it, goes too far.
It's one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, Tyler. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
When we come back after this break, we're going to talk about some actions in Georgia. The FBI raided the elections office there in Fulton County, Georgia. We're going to talk about that.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
If you're tired of hot, uncomfortable dress shirts that just don't hold up, sweat stains, stuffy collars, short tails, sound familiar? Meet your new favorite dress shirts from Serve Clothing. The game-changing design features a mesh collar shield that stops sweat stains from ruining your look. Plus, built-in vents keep you comfortable under suits and jackets, no matter the season. You'll love the extra length that stays tucked in and the antimicrobial odor-fighting fabric that keeps you fresh all day. Forget about replacing your dress shirts every 6 months. With Serve Clothing's unbeatable 2-year guarantee, you know your shirt is built to last through the toughest work days in any climate. And giving back is a priority. Last year, Serve Clothing helped to outfit more than 750 missionaries and others in need using a portion of your orders. Don't wait. Serve shirts sold out 4 times last year. Visit serveclothing.com right now to get yours before they're gone. Serve Clothing. Dress shirts that actually serve you. serveclothing.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Big tax changes this year could mean a bigger refund, and Jackson Hewitt knows how to get you your biggest. You'll get $100 just to try us. That won't make you filthy rich, but definitely gas plus groceries rich. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back, which would make you low-key loaded. Or at least wealthy adjacent? Go with our trusted pros and get $100 to switch. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So for the last 6 years, President Trump has repeatedly said that there was voter fraud in the 2020 election and referred specifically to Georgia that contributed to his election loss. And now Fulton County, Georgia officials are saying the FBI seized 2020 voting records while serving a search warrant. I think it was yesterday. Officials are vowing to fight the seizure of these ballots taken under a search warrant. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has the latest.
Federal agents took 700 boxes of ballots and other records from an election that took place more than 5 years ago and that recounts and audits confirmed Joe Biden won. County Chairman Rob Pitts.
We're going to fight this in court with every resource that we have.
Pitts says he's concerned about what will happen with the records now.
Are they opening the boxes? Are they stuffing other ballots in there? I have no clue.
The FBI affidavit laying out probable cause remains under seal. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Okay, I have to just say this. At what point do you move on from an election that was more than 5 years ago?
Yeah, and what are you going to do about it anyway? I mean,
right. You're not going to go backwards and say, okay, well, Biden can't be president again. Well, everybody already knows that.
Right, or that Trump was
is
president.
now serving a third term.
Yeah,
and he should immediately be removed from office because he's been there too long. No, look, that's part. It's just so ridiculous. It's like he did back away from the arguments that he actually won the 2020 election for a little while, and then like he is just going full throttle now, again saying, "Well, actually, I won, and I won by a lot." Yeah. Right? It's all fraud, and it was just such. Really?
I know. Maybe it's time to move on. But here's a little refresher on how we got here from ABC's Start Here podcast.
Well, it all goes back to something that we have heard the president say repeatedly, which is that the 2020 election was stolen from him.
We had a great election in 2020. We won the election by a lot, but it was a rigged election.
Now, we know that that's not true. Those results were already affirmed multiple times, but he has remained fixated on this, calling for investigations. This is also the jurisdiction that indicted him over his efforts to try to change the results of the 2020 election. Everyone probably remembers that phone call to the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, the President Trump saying, "Help me find 11,000 votes."
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Calling for investigations. He was actually indicted there. He pled not guilty, and those charges were still playing out up until a few weeks ago when they were dropped at the end of last year. So Fulton County has a lot of history when it comes to the 2020 election and it comes to Donald Trump's claims. And now it seems that the Attorney General under the president and the FBI has done what he has called for so many years, which is to go in and get those ballots.
Again, I just think, just give it up, my dude. So.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder what's going to come of it. I mean, you would hope that the FBI would work with local officials. Now, they've seized the records. They seized, 700 boxes of voter information. And, I mean, the county chairperson that talked to us a minute ago said, we don't know what's going to happen. Are they opening the boxes? Are they stuffing ballots in there? I have no clue. I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine anything.
So
I don't think the FBI is going to do that. But you would hope that there would be some oversight with local officials watching what they see.
Again, that's one of the problems that we're facing right now in our nation is a lack of trust, and that goes to government institutions like the FBI. But again, to your point, I don't know what's going to happen. Even if they say, okay, well, actually, he did win Fulton County, Georgia. That still doesn't negate the rest of the election where he lost bigly. So,
right.
So look, most of Fulton County is they were Biden supporters, and they conducted. Remember, because we just heard that phone call where he said in 2020, you've got to find me more votes. They actually conducted an audit. They included a full manual tally of all the votes cast. And they're like, no, we stand by our results. These are the results. And remember, the election was certified. Of course, we had the incident of January 6th in 2021, but the election was still certified. It was still the electors that have to cast their ballots and then have the election ratified. It still went for Joe Biden. So what would be the point except for to sow chaos?
And you wonder what the FBI is going to do with 700 boxes of ballots and records. I mean, what are they going to count every one? Are they going to have some sort of system
even if they
to go
even
through
if
that?
they do, right? They've already done that. And so ballots they need to be kept for a certain period of time, right? And again, not only is the 2020 election behind us, but the next election after that is behind us.
Oh, yeah, right. 2020 and
2024,
right.
Right? And so it's not like, okay, well, I have to see if fraud was committed because actually I should be the president in 2021. We don't have a time machine.
So when law enforcement serves a search warrant, they have to go before a judge prior to that and get the search warrant signed. And to do that, they prepare what's called an affidavit in support of the search warrant. Basically, dear judge, I'm a law enforcement officer. I believe a crime was committed, and I believe that the evidence of that crime is, for example, at the Fulton County Clerk's office. What we don't know, what hasn't been disclosed, is what that affidavit says.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a probable cause statement. In other words, how is it that I'm entitled to this search warrant? Judge, give me a search warrant because here's what I think happened. That here's what I think happened part, the probable cause part, is going to be really important. Did the FBI give accurate facts? Did they give all the facts? Is it something that could be challenged? I mean, a judge signed it, so I can assume that the judge felt that the affidavit established probable cause. But what is it that the FBI was alleging in that affidavit? We don't know that. All we know is they served a search warrant. We have that, but it basically says go grab boxes.
Right.
It doesn't say why or how or under what authority they're doing that. But the affidavit will be really critical once that's finally unsealed, if it is.
So one of the interesting people who was there was Tulsi Gabbard, and she's not FBI. She's the director of national intelligence. And so there's a federal senator, Mark Warner from Virginia. He posted on social media yesterday and said, why is Tulsi Gabbard at an FBI raid at an election office in Fulton County? And she was there, and there's multiple pictures of why she was there. So he said, this is Senator Warner, either Director Gabbard believes there is a legitimate foreign intelligence nexus, in which case she's in clear violation of her obligation under the law to keep the intelligence committees fully and currently informed, or she's once again demonstrating her utter lack of fitness for the office which she holds.
By showing up. Yeah, I mean.
By showing up. This is a Democrat senator who's just saying, I don't understand why a Tulsi Gabbard would be there when we're talking about an FBI taking election records from 5 years ago.
And I think this happened yesterday, didn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I remember we were here and I was watching it occur and I was thinking, what is going on? Why are federal agents at the elections office there in Georgia? And starting to read more and more about it, this is Fulton County, and watching the FBI go in, and they had video, obviously, of what was happening,
Right.
but they didn't show what they were seizing. But now we're learning that they took 700 boxes of ballots from that elections office, and that were the result of voting that occurred in the 2020 election, not 2024,
Right.
not 2022, 2020 election, which is where Donald Trump was beaten by Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's right. And that county, again, traditionally goes Democratic. And so it's interesting that they're focused specifically on that county. But Fulton County officials, of course, we already heard, they are vowing to fight this in court. They say they don't have a lot of information, but they're saying that this move is about intimidation and distraction.
And you know, it'll be interesting to see under what authority the federal government can seize a state's elections.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Records, you know.
We only have a few seconds, but let me ask you this. So Fulton County hasn't seen like what the judge decided. At least that's what the indication is, that
Correct.
they haven't seen the search. They saw the search warrant, but not the probable cause.
Exactly.
When would they get to see that?
Well, if it's under investigation, it'll be sealed. It could be sealed for some time. If, in fact, they decide to do something and charge someone, or if they decide they're not going to charge someone, at some point they have to release it.
Wow.
But the when remains up in the air depending on how long this investigation goes, which could be a very long time. Speaking of investigations, ICE officers in Minnesota have been directed not to interact with agitators in their new orders. We'll discuss the latest developments in Minneapolis when we come back after this.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Utah lawmakers are one step closer to lowering the state's income tax rate for the 6th year in a row. State Senator Dan McKay is sponsoring the effort to lower Utah's income tax rate from 4.5 to 4.45%.
The nice thing about reducing income tax and keeping us competitive with the states around us is it does tend to attract economic development and economic growth.
The bill was passed through a Senate committee, but not unanimously. Several public commenters voiced concern given the bill is expected to cost Utah more than $200 million in revenue over the next 2 fiscal years, while the cut is expected to save the typical Utah family about $45 a year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Senate has blocked a funding bill to prevent a government shutdown.
This procedural vote goes down because Democrats don't support it, while there is that ongoing negotiation between Democrats and the White House as to what ICE reforms the White House might agree to, and maybe stripping this DHS funding out of this package of those other bills and passing those other bills and haggling on the DHS funding separately. There was one more major data point on the Senate floor that just happened, which is that 7 Republicans voted against this package. Not just Democrats, 7 Republicans voted against it.
That's ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 117 points. The S&P is down 47. And coming up, the fog is lingering. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program and the Shingo Institute at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Ever seen an infection spread? I watched a team on the floor of a factory build a complicated technology. Every time they completed a task, they returned to the team leader, reported, and then got a new assignment with careful instructions on how to complete the next task. I asked why they worked that way. That's the way we've always done it, but it included words like oversight, tradition, evolving. In fact, the process was not evolving. A team of observers using the principles of the Shingo model in an hour of observation showed the team how to eliminate waste. Fewer steps, less cutting, less walking, more working. Production costs went down by 30%. That's all it took. Before long, the entire plant was infected with ideas of continuous improvement. Learn more about continuous improvement in an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com or check out the Shingo model at shingo.org. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Ben Kerr was born with Cruzon syndrome, told he'd face a life of limits.
People do a lot for someone to notice them. Just trying to get someone to pay attention to them. That's not your deal.
Impossible adversity didn't break him.
You will never live an ordinary life.
It fueled him.
So make it extraordinary.
Wrestling defined him. courage shaped him, and refusing to be normal became his superpower.
We can make excuses, or we can just chew the excuses up and swallow them. And then you end up like Ben.
This is the true story of a young man who didn't just rise above the odds, he crushed them.
A local wrestler could have used his physical limitations to quit sports. Instead, he used it in his advantage.
Stand Out, the Ben Care story. In theaters now. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Get tickets at standoutfilm.com. When life says you can't, Ben Care proves you can. Standoutfilm.com.
Amanda, I took my daughter with me to see Frozen at Hale Center Theater, and it was a magical experience. And I say that somewhat jokingly, but it was magical. I watched a woman transform a dress in a second right in front of my own eyes. I got snowed on indoors. Plus, there was all the songs that we both loved.
Yeah, when that ice castle comes out of the floor, I have goosebumps now just thinking about that moment. And the performers, the young girls who sing Elsa and Anna when they're little. I mean, the grown-up ones too, but all of them were just extraordinary.
The Anna that I saw just had this magical pixie-like charm that was so fun to watch. That just everything she said made me laugh.
Have you seen Frozen yet at Hale Center Theater? It runs till when, Andy?
It goes till Valentine's Day.
So you have time.
Yeah, if you didn't catch it during the holiday season, that's okay. It's an extended run. You have a chance to go now.
And if you went before, maybe you want to take your girlfriend or your nieces. Go back and have this magical experience of Frozen.
You can get tickets online. Find out which day works best for you at hct.org.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Overall, the major roads are running at posted speeds. We do still have some visibility issues, though. This is over in the Syracuse, Layton, and even down to Farmington areas on West Davis Corridor. Also spreading over a little bit to Legacy, and then headed a little bit over to the Farmington split on I-15. Join Ovation Homes. Fall in love with your home event February 14th, hosted by KSL Greenhouse Show, live in West Point, and Waffle Love at Sadie's Glen in Syracuse. Details, visit ovationhomes.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're seeing mostly sunny skies today with a high of 42. This morning's fog is slowly but surely lifting. The worst of it appears to be on the West Davis Highway near Syracuse. Right now, it is 34 and misty. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it seems like every day we have new updates regarding the immigration crackdown in Minnesota. The former ICE agent that was there, Greg Bovino, has been removed. Tom Holman, the so-called border czar, is now in charge. And we're also learning that from Reuters that ICE officers have been directed not to interact with agitators according to new orders. And further, they've been told only to target immigrants who have criminal charges or convictions.
That is a huge change, I will say, right? That's a huge change because I think the understanding from the American public was that immigration agents were going to be going after the, quote, worst of the worst to deport criminals who should not have been here in the first place. And then, of course, we've seen all these other things that have happened, and you surge 3,000 agents into a city. There's going to be some stuff. So,
yeah. And there are certainly agitators who follow them closely, and ICE agents seem to be fairly recognizable for a number of reasons.
Well, because they don't show their faces.
They cover their faces, and so you hear the whistles, you hear the people saying, and so they're following them. And you know, you can get. I look at some of the videos, and they're all talking about I'm arm's length away. Both the ICE agents and the agitators are sort of defining themselves, saying.
But what makes an agitator?
Well, that's for the in the mind of the beholder. But agitators, I think what they're talking about here, of course, I think of an agitator differently, is somebody that's showing up and you know, confronting ICE and
but
alerting
you can
people.
peacefully protest and you can protect your neighbors. That's what I think. So specifically, though, to this order, this is a Reuters article that says, and they say they have an exclusive, that ICE officers are not to interact with them. And of course, we see what happened with both Renee Good, who was saying, what did she say? Are you mad? Right, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad.
Right.
As she was turning her car around, and then of course we have the case with Alex Preddy just last weekend, where he ran across the street to put himself in between an ICE agent who was shoving and then pepper spraying a woman who was there, who was filming. So that part, I think, is like, does that make him an agitator because he was there? Is he an agitator because he jumped in between? I mean, clearly the ICE agent who was shoving the woman and pepper spraying her, that was an interaction with someone who was there.
Sure, and even if she wasn't, that would be considered, I think, an agitator under the circumstances. You know, I've been watching the TV today as we've been going, and the federal government has released some video that appears to show that Alex Preddy was involved in a confrontation with federal agents 11 days before he was killed. And what he was doing was yipping at some ICE officers as they were driving away and actually kicked the car.
Yes, but do you know why?
He got pummeled after that.
He was chasing down agents who had just gone after a family with young kids.
Oh.
And so he was there, and when they threw him to the ground at that time, they broke his rib.
His ribs, yeah. You watch them, they exit the car and then take him to the ground. Of course.
But does that make him, was he then really more of a target? And does it matter, right? Does it matter if you kick a car? Does that mean that you should be shot and killed in the street a week later?
Yeah, the public sentiment about ICE is really changing almost by the day, and anytime you look at polls with respect to ICE and what they're doing, it seems that people are not in favor of what's going on, and the tide has turned a little bit because immigration was. And maybe in some respects still is one of the most important issues for Americans. It certainly controlled the 2024 election. Let's face it, immigration and deportation was a big part of that. And I think now people are going, okay, we didn't expect it to go this far.
Right.
We weren't sure that we signed up for this.
We know there's 5-year-olds in detention, right? And I think that's one of the things too. It is, if you're saying we're going after the worst of the worst, those are people who have committed murder, they've committed sexual assaults, they may be in jail right now, right? That is, I think, the understanding. And I've seen polling from Fox News that is pretty friendly to President Trump and the administration. Let's just say that nicely. Pretty friendly.
Right, yeah.
The majority by far feel like they've gone too far.
Yeah, and when we see federal officials killing American citizens in connection with immigration or the things that we're talking about here, people go, wait a minute, that's going a little too far. We've had 2 deaths in Minneapolis. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, both, you could call them agitators, you call them whatever you want. They were peacefully protesting in their own way. I mean, the video shows what it shows, and I don't want to get into that because everybody looks at it differently depending on what lens you're wearing. But it seems to me, having been involved in officer-involved critical incidents, that there's really a problem with the conduct of law enforcement in both of those situations. I'm not saying they committed murder.
Well, and okay, you and I can differ, but I think one of the things too that we've seen is at least some attempt to de-escalate. So, for example, when the incident first happened, and it was last Saturday morning with Alex Preddy, where he was shot and killed, at the time. Bovino said, and he was there on site right in Minneapolis. Greg Bovino said, "You are never going to know the name of the officer. He has not been placed on administrative leave. He's just been moved out of Minneapolis." Well, now we know that there are at least 2 officers, because there were 2 shooters, that they have both been placed on administrative leave. And you mentioned that Tom Homan was there, and not only is Bovino not there, but Tom Homan is there and not Kristi Noem.
Yeah, and Homan did, in fact, speak to the media today, said he believes the number of federal immigration agents in Minnesota will dwindle, but he says it's going to take more cooperation with state and local officials. And this is the first time we've heard from him since he replaced Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino and in the aftermath of the death of Alex Priddy. Homan also referred to the protesters, as a word that we've been using today, as agitators, and said that those who do not have criminal records, who are undocumented, are still fair game. Here's Hibb from the press conference.
The drawdown is going to happen based on these agreements, but the drawdown can happen even more if the hateful rhetoric and the impediment and interference will stop. Target enforcement operations, the way we've always done it, I think we got away from a little bit, and we're going to make sure we do target enforcement operations. And look, and I will say it again, we are not surrendering our mission at all. If the message we send is you can enter this country legally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. You can have your due process, show up in court, not show up in court, get ordered removed, don't worry about it. Unless you commit a serious crime, you're good to go. If that's the message we send to the world, you're never going to fix this problem.
Again, so he's not backing down from, we're just going to round everybody up that we can find.
Right.
But that really leads to fear in communities. It leads to people who are not leaving their homes. I've seen a demonstration. These are protesters that were religious leaders. There were 100 of them who went there to say, hey, look, this is not okay. There are people who are preaching now from the pulpit saying that their responsibility, they believe, is to speak up for people who still have rights as human beings.
Yeah, we'll see whether Homan is an improvement on Greg Bovino and whether or not the White House is going to continue what seems to be at least an early effort to back off of some of the enforcement that's going on in Minneapolis. And we've heard that the governor and the mayor there have had conversations with the administration. Maybe those will go somewhere. When we come back after the break, this is interesting. 2 Utah ski resorts are offering to pay pass holders what are called mountain credits to come ski, hoping this will help out people to get more people up there on our not so snowy mountains this year. We'll talk about what that means, what a mountain credit is. I've never heard of it. When we come back.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
With affordable tuition, personal support, and career services, Salt Lake Community College is empowering students to shape Utah's future.
I'm an occupational therapy practitioner.
I'm an electrical engineer.
And I'm in comms, PR, and marketing.
And I'm a Salt Lake Community College alum.
A better Utah starts with a better education. SLCC provides opportunities to students who become alumni that shape Utah's future. See how we're investing in Utah's future at slcc.edu/community.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since its founding in 1965, Menlove Construction has been a Utah-based commercial general contractor helping developers successfully bring projects to life. Through its collaborative design-build approach and expertise, they deliver certainty, speed, and value across the Mountain West. Vice President Mitchell Menlove joins us with more.
At Menlove Construction, we follow a design-build approach. This means that instead of the usual fragmented development process that requires owners to manage 4 or 5 different teams, Menlove will manage the entire process from start to finish, providing a single point of contact and accountability. Menlove will design, engineer, permit, and construct your building in one package, which minimizes owner headaches and eliminates gaps in the construction process that typically cause delays, change orders, and budget surprises. Our comprehensive, collaborative approach yields predictable projects that meet owner timelines and budgets. With experience that includes self-storage, light industrial, office buildings, retail, and sports facilities throughout the Mountain West, we've built our reputation on accountability, transparency, and craftsmanship. For developers and business owners who value speed, certainty, and a single point of responsibility, Menlove Construction is the contractor to trust with your investment.
Menlove Construction brings projects to life with reliability and care, helping developers succeed and creating spaces that make a real difference in communities. To learn more about their services, experience, and completed projects, visit menloveconstruction.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Emergency medical unit, respond to 102 Maple Avenue, possible stroke victim.
When stroke occurs, you have 60 minutes to win or lose the race of your life. There are new treatments, but you must get to a hospital fast. If you suddenly feel weakness on one side, have trouble speaking, walking, or seeing, it could be a stroke. Call 911. Get to a hospital. Because how you spend the next 60 minutes could determine how you spend the rest of your life. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop Texts, StopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Salt Lake City will be good. Well, the Beach Boys know that in Salt Lake, there's a park near the city and all the kids dig a look. And wintertime, the skiing is great.
Except for this year.
Except for this year. So, you know, I've skied 5 days this year at 3 Utah resorts, and I will say this. The snow is not as bad as you might think. And if you stay on runs where they've done grooming and they've done some improvements, you're going to be fine. What I have noticed this year, Holly, and it's been sad, is that there are not people up skiing. We don't have, I mean, the parking lots are pretty sparse. And I've been, like I said, I've been to 3 different resorts. I've skied 5 days this year. Had a blast every day, but didn't have any people.
Well, you know, there's always a way to try and incentivize people to come do something, visit your business, you know, whether it's a giveaway or whatever. So there are mountain resorts, at least 2 Utah ski resorts that are offering, quote, mountain credits to come and ski. So I just thought that was interesting, and I think it's really clever.
Yeah, so the Icon pass holders, and by the way, Icon includes 6 Utah ski resorts. Only 2 of them are involved in this. Deer Valley and Solitude Mountain Resort are part of a program with Icon, and that's a season pass designation that gives you access to a lot of resorts around the country, but 6 here in Utah. You get what are called mountain credits. You sign up for it. You get $20 in credits for each day you ski with an Icon pass through February 25th of this year, and it's added to your account, and so that you can get up to $60 in mountain credits. This is
in the spring. So it's available by the beginning of March. They have to be used before the end of May. And it's not cash, but you can use it at food and restaurants, retail outlets, rental shops, etc. So, you go up to ski now, and then you can go up in the spring and eat.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an incentive. It's like, come up and ski. We'll pay you to ski. We'll give you a few extra dollars because they're trying to get people to go up there. And it's interesting that it ends, but you have to do it between now and February 25th. I think that they're counting on the snow's going to come.
Fingers crossed, right? They're crossing
we're all
their
starting
fingers.
To pray for it now, so I think it's
right.
I think it's
we're
going to
praying
come.
for snow this weekend, right?
Yes.
Look, okay, so today we do have to have some fun facts of the day, of course. So today is National Puzzle Day. So my husband even has the word puzzle in his email. He likes to do not only jigsaws, but he does those ones where they're 3D and it's got the locking things and you've got to be able to unlock it, right? Take the ball out of this thing that's way too small. He's really good at that. The rest of us are like, we don't know how to do that.
Do you consider a crossword puzzle a puzzle?
Yeah, but I guess
because I think you're thinking of jigsaw.
Yeah, jigsaw. My husband likes to do jigsaw puzzles. I actually find them very frustrating. I think I come by it naturally because I understand. I never saw my grandmother do this. In fact, my great-grandmother. But she would sit there. She would look at a jigsaw puzzle. This is the family story. She would take a piece, whether it fit or not, she would put it there, and then she would pound it with her fist and say, there you go.
And make it fit.
And make it fit.
There you go.
So, yeah, National Puzzle Day, I did have to look it up. It's crossword, jigsaw, Sudoku, anything that works on your brain.
Yeah, it reminds me of my mother. She always would have a coffee table with a big round,
one
of those 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles. And every time I tried to help, she'd say, no, I got this.
We have a table set up in our house right now, and my husband is working on puzzles. He's on his third or fourth since Christmas. Nobody helps him. I cheer him on. I take pictures when they're done. But we have cats that jump up on the table, and then they mess the puzzle pieces up. It's annoying.
I'll bet you hear from him when that happens.
He does grumble. Look, as of this morning, I told you it was day 10 of the legislative session out of 45. There were 684 bills drafted before 8 a.m. this morning that they're going to try to get to, which of course they will not all get to.
Do you notice that number increases by
so
more than I think they can do in a day?
Oh, yeah.
Every day?
We'll be over 700 tomorrow, which is, I think on Tuesday you said by the end of the week we'll be over 700. Totally correct.
Yep, probably true.
Okay, on this day in history, so remember the American Revolution?
Yes.
Do you remember King George?
Yes.
Well, he died on this day in 1820 after years of mental illness. Poor King George.
Cursing the United States.
Well, I think he was talking to a tree is the story I remember.
Right, yeah.
So, okay, so on this day in 1863, the Bear River Massacre occurred. And if you remember the history from that, it was called the Bear River Battle for a long time. And then there was one woman, it was Darren Perry's, I think, grandma maybe, and Darren is active in Utah politics and educating us all. But she said it was not a battle. This was a massacre. Men, women, and children were just slaughtered. And so now we know this as the Bear River Massacre.
I don't recall the circumstances of that, but Bear River makes me think it was up in the northern part of the state, Box Elder or Weber County or something like that.
It was U.S. military attacked somewhere close to 500 children and women and men, but they were at a Shoshone winter encampment, and some sources say it was the largest mass murder of Native Americans by the U.S. military, and they called it genocide.
Wow.
So they were not engaged in battle, and they were just attacked and slaughtered, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Massacre.
Yeah. So more fun facts. Not that was a fun fact. Walt Disney, on this day in 1920, he started working as an artist for $40 a week. It was with a company called Casey Slide. I think they're way out of business, but he would have been a young guy, and he's like, I can draw, right? So
I didn't realize he started as an artist.
Yeah.
Maybe a cartoon artist.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because of what his legacy is and what he'd done.
That's right. That's right. So do you remember hearing the Axis of Evil?
Yes.
That was a George W. Bush statement in his State of the Union, actually. And that was in 2002. So that was on this day, one of the fun facts on this day.
The Axis of Evil was Iran, Russia, and
It had to do with the 9/11 attacks, right? So yeah, over there.
The access of Eagle.
So anyway, we do have these fun facts, and we talked about diet soda earlier, and we were talking about Diet Coke and Coke Zero. Well, I do have to tell you this: it was on this day that the Coca-Cola Company was incorporated in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you want to guess the year?
I'm going to say 100 years, so 1926.
You are too recent. It was 1892.
Oh, you're kidding.
And if you remember, the original Coca-Cola recipe, the coca part was cocaine.
Right. And it was a
cocaine and sugar.
Closely kept secret for many years.
Oh, yeah.
What was in, like, the Colonel's 11 herbs
and
spices?
Yeah.
What are they? Yeah. We're always trying to find that out.
Yeah.
I still don't believe that you can tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi, but that's for another day.
I can tell. Anyway, so those are some of our fun facts of the day, and it's been fun to talk about bills on the Hill. With 684, whatever I told you it was, there's no way that we will talk about every bill. There's no way.
It was fun to talk to a couple people today because we really drew down on some interesting bills.
Yeah.
We sort of ended with the bar's out take
not
on
drinking
some
bar.
Right. Yeah. The Utah State Bar, but the one that really caught me the most was Senator Reeby's bill about teaching our 10th graders civics, teaching them about the law, making sure that they understand what's going to happen when 2 years from now, when you turn 18, you graduate from high school, your responsibilities, your rights, your privileges. I mean, I think that's an interesting bill, and I hope that we follow up with that.
There are lots of laws addressing civics education this year, both in the K through 12 and also higher ed. Just saying, we need people to be more aware. We even need people to understand there are 3 branches of government. You would think that people know that, but actually a lot of people don't realize that there are 3 distinct co-equal branches of government.
And with what's going on in our country right now, I think a lot of people are wondering about separation of powers, about the Constitution, about what rights the administration has, what rights the legislature has, where the judiciary fits into the equation. We're getting an incredible civics lesson in our country and in our state right now with what's going on, for good or bad. Well, that's it for Inside Sources today. The man who first admitted to shooting Charlie Kirk has now pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice, which potentially holds a sentence of up to 15 years in prison. I didn't know that. This is news to me. Maria Shileos, however, knows more about it than I do, and she'll be straight up ahead on Midday. Stay tuned.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL